فراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية صدق الله العليم. السلام عليكم.
Now it's time to welcome the gallery. We request Dr. S.A.A. Mohamed Yasir, Assistant Professor, Department of History, to present the welcome address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning to all. On behalf of PGM Research Department of History, Jamal Mohamed College, I welcome you all to the 5-day International Workshop on Research Methodology, Tools and Techniques for Thesis Writing. First, I welcome our Secretary and Correspondent and also the Management Committee in absentia. I welcome our Vice Principal. He is very simple and kind in nature. He is a well-wisher of our department. He is one of the real factor for getting A++ grade for that of our college. I welcome you, sir. I also welcome our beloved head of the department and all the success to him. I welcome you, sir. I welcome today's august guest, Revered Dr. M. Arogesami Savio, Principal and Associate Professor in History, St. Joseph College. He was formerly Principal of Loyola College, Chennai. Sir has an admirable record of teaching and research for more than 30 years. He is regarded as the most eminent historian in India, who has visited more than 14 countries across the globe for academic services. Sir has authored and co-authored more than 10 books and has published more than 40 research papers. Sir holds academic position in more than 41 various academic bodies and 13 administrative positions in St. Joseph College. Sir has organized more than 10 national and international conferences and also acted as a resource person in national and international forums. On behalf of PGM Research Department of History, Jamal Mohamed College, I feel proud and privileged to welcome you, sir. I also welcome today's guest for technical session 1, Mr. S. Deepak Raj, Special Correspondent, Times of India. He has a wide experience of more than 15 years as journalist and has covered many significant events. I welcome you, sir. Today's technical session 2, Professor K. Mavali Rajan, Associate Professor, Department of History, Indian History, Vishwabharati University, West Bengal. A senior faculty with a teaching experience of more than 20 years and an eminent scholar in ancient Indian history. I welcome you, sir, in online mode. Technical session 3, Professor K. Rohita Dasanayaka, Head, Department of History, Faculty of Arts, University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka. An eminent professor and a great intellect. I welcome you, sir. Last and importantly, I express a warm welcome to the learned faculties, resource scholars, and every other stakeholders of the workshop. Once again, I welcome you all on behalf of PGM Research Department of History, Jamal Mohamed College. I welcome you all. Thank you.
Now we request our respected Vice Principal, sir, to deliver presidential address. Please, sir.
distinguished chief guest of today's program, Reverend Father Principal, St. Joseph's College, the resource person of today's program, Mr. Deepak Karthik, journalist, Times of India, the head of the Department of History, head of the Department of Commerce, learned colleagues, participants, resource persons throughout the globe, participants throughout the globe, and my dear young Jamalians. Very good morning, all of you. I also join with Professor Mohamed to welcome every one of you to this 5-day international workshop conducted by the Department of History in our campus. I'm very happy to participate in the 4th-day workshop on tools and techniques for thesis writing. Really, I appreciate the Department of History. This week, they have created an history by conducting an international workshop by inviting eminent people from various walks of life, not only from the Department of History, from various sectors. They invited people how the thesis could be written. Because thesis or going for research, it is an art. After completion of the PG program, then they are going for pursuing the research study. Though they are able to carry out number of experiments, number of surveys, it is very difficult to write the thesis. For that, number of tools are being used. What are all the various techniques? What are all the various tools adopted for writing the thesis? For this workshop will be very much helpful for the staff members and also for the students. It is very useful for the staff members also. This is one kind of faculty development program also. Unless we update ourselves, unless the teachers update ourselves, will become obsolete. It is very difficult to face the students also. Students, they do research, quite a lot of research in their study, in their friends, through their friends, from their peer team. So they get all the information because now we are in the information age. Whether we like it or not, we get lot of information. So that I used to tell the history people, you are not only learning history, you are creating history. Now the Department of History has been creating history, especially during the NAC PRT visit. We requested the head of the department and all the staff members do some innovative activity. We are given the small hint also to prepare an archaeological survey or archaeological some kind of monuments or some exhibition to be conducted in front of the department. You have done it. You made it. So you have played a very major role for getting this much scope. So I take this opportunity to welcome our distinguished chief guest, respected Reverend Father Principal from St. Joseph's College. We learned quite a lot of things from St. Joseph's College. It's a heritage college, good old college. From 1844 onwards, they have been doing human service to the community. So I studied from St. Joseph's College from 6th standard to MCA for continuous 13 years. After that, I did my research also in St. Joseph's College. So that is my Piranda Vedu. This is my full. We learned quite a lot of things from St. Joseph's. In front of the Commerce Department, we have the Wall of Fame. That is also the replica of the Wall of Fame from St. Joseph's College. The 81-84 batch, they constructed the wall of fame in St. Joseph's College, opposite to the Digby Hall. Here also, we have erected one wall of fame before NAC. That is also a replica of St. Joseph's College wall of fame. So like that, each and every activity, we have the healthy competition between the institutions. We learn things from each other, quite a lot of things. I'm sure that this workshop will take us to a long way. I wish you all the best and congratulations to the Department of History headed by Professor Akul Hussain. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Now it's time to honor the guest. We request our respected Vice Principal, sir, to adorn a shawl to the chiefs. Can you give a sound of applause, please? That way we request our and we request another department, Commerce, to present the money. Our respected Vice Principal is giving a may I invite today's special guest, Reverend Dr. Orakesami Xavier, Principal of St. Joseph's College, to address the gathering. Please, sir.
Dear and Honorable Vice Principal of Jamal Mohamed College, and our illustrious alumnus of St. Joseph's College, Dr. George, and our beloved HOD, Dr. Akbar Hussain, and the HOD of Commerce, and all the dignitaries on the dais, including the Times of India journalist, Mr. Deepak. My dear professors, both online and offline, and my dear participants and my dear students, good morning to you all. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Akbar Hussain and his team for inviting me to be part of this international conference on research methodology, tools, techniques for thesis writing. And they almost forced me to come here because in our college also, every day like your college, yours is one of the very prestigious institutions like ours. Both of us contributing so much to the nation building and the country and of course state and even humanity. And we are doing a lot. So in our college also, we are regularly organizing number of programs you would have experienced. Now, Dr. Akbar Hussain told me that more than 4 or 5 programs are going on every day, they said. Same thing there in St. Joseph. So I sacrificed 2 programs just for Jamal Mohamed College for the love of our department. And for your vice principal, because he's an illustrious alumnus who spent, as he said, 13 years of his formation, not only studies, formation in St. Joseph's College, which you are making use of it. I'm very, very happy and proud. And he also is part of our college in the academic council meeting. He helps a lot. And of course, quite often he comes there for our purposes also with regard to academic improvement. And I would like to proudly say that out of 7 of the faculty of your department, 4 are formed and groomed and studied from St. Joseph's. I'm very, very proud. Hello, yeah. Very proud. And I think most of them are my students. So I guided them, I helped them, and of course I taught them also. So I'm very, very proud and happy when they are shining like the premier central universities. I am very, very happy and proud. That is why I accepted this request. That is why I requested this request. I also would like to thank once again for this great gift. No, very, very meaningful gift. Particularly the intellectual, which is composed of this. So India Sodra Puranathil, Tamil Muslimgal, ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்குது. So I am very, very proud. Already I have a book. I have the same book. I bought it. And one more book, it was presented by your principal, yes, to me, which I have given to my management people. Because I am very, very particular that the world should know the contributions of every community of the nation, including the minority. We are not minority, we are sons and daughters of this land. Please note it. Okay. We have to boldly know that we are not coming from over there, America or Asia or Central Asia or other Arabian countries. We are sons and daughters of this land, and it is our choice to follow any religion, to choose any food as we like. Okay. If I would like to have I would like to have it. If I would like to have biryani, I would like to have it. This is my choice. Yes, every individual has. That is why the individual is called a person. Okay, person, which means you have got intellect. நம்ம எல்லாத்துக்கும் என்ன இருக்குது? மனசு இருக்குது, intellect இருக்குது, உறுதிப்பாடு இருக்குது, choice இருக்குது, விருப்பம் இருக்குது. So please remember that. That is why we have to know. In that way, I was very, very happy to accept this loving gift from your management, from the department of history in Jamal. Thank you very much. And I also would like to congratulate and thank Mr. Thesis, who has come from Times of India. Of course, I have spoken to him quite a few times on our academic matters, and he has published also in Times of India, which is one of the premier prestigious dailies in India. And I used to read when I was in Maharashtra, when I was doing my studies, or even Delhi also. I used to read the Times of India. Okay, when I studied there. Now, so once again, I would like to thank the department, HOD, and all our beloved professors who are here. And they are doing wonderful work in shaping you, informing you, not only educating you, in shaping you, informing you as good, responsible individuals and citizens of this world. And citizens of the world, I said, okay. Socrates once said, I am not an Athenian. I am a citizen of the world. Okay, I am not an Athenian. நான் வந்து இந்த ஏத்தன்ஸ் நாட்டுக்காரன் இல்ல, இந்த உலகத்துக்கு சொந்தக்காரன் சொன்னாரு. ஓகே, அதே மாதிரி நம்மளும் நீங்களும் நாங்களும் எல்லாருமே உலகத்துக்கு சொந்தமானோம். We are the citizens of the world. Okay, though we belong to politically in India and culturally, racially from Ethiopian stock or international. You have to understand that one. So saying this, let me go into this my topic. So also I would like to appreciate the department for organizing this wonderful, very meaningful workshop on research methodology, international workshop on research methodology tools and techniques for thesis writing, which is a very, very neat of the art. ரொம்ப இந்த காலகட்டத்துக்கு அவசியமாக இருப்பதாக ஒன்றாக நான் ரொம்ப கருதுகிறேன். Okay, that is why I consider it. I wanted to come here, even amidst so many works. Okay, and I also would like to thank Akbar Hussain for starting the program with learning, so that I can go back to the college with learning. So thank you very much. Why I say this is a meaningful initiative? Now you know how India is going towards where it is going at this trend now. So at this time, history is very, very important, and historical objectivity is very, very important. That is why I would like to appreciate the department for organizing this research methodology. Research is very, very important. And my dear students, you should take it from me, and you have to, at least few of you should know what is the meaning of research. Okay, research, rigorous search. So search of what? Going towards what? Going toward எதை நோக்கி போகிறோம், எதற்காக செய்கிறோம், உண்மையை கண்டுபிடிக்க. That is our aim. Okay, that is why it gains so much importance in today's world, in today's context, in today's Indian context, Indian political and social context, Indian cultural context, and of course even Tamil Nadu context also. So in that way, it's very, very important, very, very important. And so we should know what is truth, what is truth. I also would like to say that the Tamil Nadu government has come out with a recent book, Tamil Nadu's Contribution to Freedom Struggle, and they collected very good articles, of course, in which I also have written an article on the contribution of Christians of Tamil Nadu to the freedom struggle. Okay, so in that way they've done a meaningful work, which was not articulated earlier. So saying this, I would like to go to the topic. That is, my topic is keynote address. I would like to delve deep in the historical research. My dear students, research is, I said, the aim of research. What is the aim of research, my dear history students? Find out. Excellent. Thank you. Find out the truth. Truth. And what is truth? Nobody knows. Okay. Truth is subjective most of the times. Okay. And that is why we say when you are in the first year, or even when you study historiography, you say you study, you discuss, you debate upon history, either science or arts. Okay. In my opinion, with my strong opinion, it is a science. Science. It's social science, part of social science. Why is social science? Why is science, first of all? Science means you have to prove beyond doubt. Beyond doubt. Beyond doubt. சந்தேகத்துக்கு இடமில்லாமல் இருந்தால் நான் உங்களுக்கு நீதி வழங்கப்படும். So like that, history, research, maybe you can write historical books, fiction. அந்த மாதிரி எழுதலாம். கடல புராண சாண்டிலியன் ஒருத்தர் எழுதினார். சரியா? அல்லது ஒரு என்ன பொன்னியின் செல்வன் எழுதினாரு. இப்போ படம் வந்துச்சு, அது பாருங்க. கல்கி வந்து பொன்னியின் செல்வன் எழுதினார். அதெல்லாம் historical fiction, not history. Remember, பொன்னியின் செல்வன் பார்த்துட்டு எல்லாரும் it's history. No, it's not history. Remember, it's historical fiction. There are a lot of changes எல்லாம் நடந்திருக்கு. சரிங்களா? அதனால அது முழுசும் வரலாறு என்று சொல்ல முடியாது, வரலாறு ஏற்றுக்கொள்ள முடியாது நினைச்சுக்கோங்க. Okay, please keep that in mind. And you have to go into that to find out the truth. சரியா? எதற்காக அவரு யார கொண்டாங்க? ஆதித்யா கரியால கொள்றாங்க. கொன்னது யாருன்னு கண்டுபிடிக்கணும். அதுக்கு பயங்கர ட்விஸ்ட் கொடுத்து கொண்டு வராங்க. நீங்க கண்டுபிடிங்க. இருக்கு historical evidence இருக்கு. I leave it to you. Okay, it's quite interesting. Fine. Now, what I am going to drive you towards this, the point is this. Okay, now research is completely objective writing. So there should not be any subjective writing in history. Historical fiction இருக்கலாம், அல்லது history மாதிரி எழுதலாம். But as history students, since you have studied history, historiography, and all other stuff, you should not have any subjective attitude, subjective elements there. So I want to emphasize that aspect. Your teachers would have taught you there because they've done their not only master's, MPhil, also doctorate. Because we are very, very thorough with the methodologies, along with tools. அதை நீங்க பார்த்துக்கணும். சரிங்களா? வரைஞ்சு போடும்போது மித் அண்ட் ட்ரூத் ரெண்டுக்கும் வித்தியாசம் இருக்கு. மித்துங்கிறது தொன்மம். சரியா? எங்க இதுல நம்ம பைபிள்ல சொல்றோம் ஆதாம் ஏவாள்னு சொல்றோம். ஆதாம் ஏவாளுக்கு ப்ரூஃப் இருக்குதா? ப்ரூஃப் இல்ல. அதனால அதை ஹிஸ்டாரிக்கல் ட்ரூத்னு சொல்ல முடியாது. As a Christian, I believe it. That's all. I believe it. Okay, but I cannot say that it's a truth to சொல்ல முடியாது. Okay, but I believe it. Okay, that's different than that. Truth is what? It should be beyond that. That is what we are saying. Okay, history students, you should attain to that level. That is what history, truth. Okay, fine. Now, I would like to say, when you discuss it is history, history is art or science, it's science, but historical writing is not. Okay, as Vice Principal beautifully mentioned, எழுதும் போது எப்படி எழுதலாம், ஆர்டிஸ்டிக்கா எழுதலாம், எப்படி படம் வரைஞ்சில்ல, நல்ல பிளேவரோட எழுதும், சரிங்களா? பட் ஹிஸ்டாரிக்கல் ஃபேக்ட்ஸை மிஸ் பண்ணாம எழுதணும், சரிங்களா? நல்ல கான்செப்ட், சரிங்களா? அதனால அதுல ரெண்டும் வித்தியாசம் இருக்குது, அதை மனசுல வச்சுக்கோங்க. ஓகே, ஃபைன். Now, Berry used to say, famous historian Berry used to say that history is science, no more, no less. That's all. It's a science. Therefore, 1902, 120 years மேல சொல்லிருக்காரு, சரியா? I value that statement very much, very much. Okay, fine. Now, coming to what is history? Dr. Ambedkar வந்து ஹிஸ்டோரியன் உடைய குவாலிட்டி சொல்லியிருக்காரு பாருங்க, பியூட்டிஃபுல்லா சொல்லியிருக்காரு. ஒரு நிமிஷம் இதுல எடுத்துக்கிறேன், உடைய டெக்ஸ்ட்ல இருந்து எடுத்துக்கிறேன். அதுல பியூட்டிஃபுல்லா சொல்லியிருக்காரு. So you should understand, you should know. ஹிஸ்டோரியன்னா யாருன்னு சொல்லி அவர் சொல்றாரு. I quote, நல்லா கவனிச்சுங்க. A historian ought to be exact. Super statement. Ought to be exact. சும்மா வளவள இல்ல, அப்படி இருக்கலாம் என்று கருதப்படுகிறது, அதெல்லாம் ஹிஸ்டரி இல்ல. நல்லா கவனிச்சுங்க. Ought to be exact. Sincere, impartial, free from passion. Now, explain it. Okay. இந்த ஒரு கோட்டை நீங்க புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டீங்கனால போதும். Beautiful. That would be enough for you. That you have gained something from this research methodology. Okay. Unbiased by interest, fear, resentment, or affection. I am faithful to the truth, which is the mother of history, the preserver of great actions, the enemy of oblivion, the witness of the past, and the director of the future. In short, historian must have an open mind, though it may not be an empty mind, and readiness to examine all evidences, even though it is spurious. My dear gentlemen, please take it from me. The best quote I've ever seen for a historian is this. Now I explain to you. Now, I told you a historian ought to be exact. Right. Exact. சரியா? கரெக்டா இருக்கும். என்ன சொல்றோங்கிறத பாருங்க. சரியா? என்ன சொல்ல வரீங்க? வள அதெல்லாம் கிடைக்கும். சரிங்களா? And impartialனா இந்த பக்கம் இல்லாம அந்த பக்கம் இல்ல, நடுநிலைமையோட இடத்துல இருக்க முடியுமா? இருக்கணும். அப்படின்னா என்ன அர்த்தம்? உண்மையோட நோக்கி இருக்கணும். Free from passion. சரியா? நம்ம ஒவ்வொருத்தருக்கும் ஒரு அட்டாச்மெண்ட் இருக்கும். சரியா? நல்லா கொஞ்சங்க. ஒரு பியூட்டிஃபுல் கொட்டேஷன் வாசிச்சேன். சரியா? ஹியூமன் பர்சன், மேன் எழுதி இருக்குது. நம்ம மேன் சொல்றதுல ஒரு கேர்ள்ஸ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட் இருக்கிறதுனால மற்ற எல்லாரும் கேர்ள்ஸ் எல்லாம் பண்ணுவாங்க, இல்ல விமன் தான் ரெஸ்பெக்ட் பண்றதுனால ஹியூமன் பர்சன் சொல்லணும். மேன் and human person is a social, biological person, but what he thinks is a social entity. மனிதன் என்பது பயாலஜிக்கல் உள்ள உருவம். சரியா? மூளை இருக்குது, அனாட்டம் இருக்குது. ஓகே. But what she thinks is a sociological fact. ஓகே. என்ன சொல்றது? மனிதன் இருக்கின்றார் என்பது பயாலஜிக்கல் உண்மை, ஆனால் என்ன யோசிக்கின்றார் என்பது சமூக ரீதியான உண்மை. ஓகே. That is very much true when you come to this one. ஓகே. நமக்கு நீங்க எவ்வளவுதான் பெரிய ஆளா இருந்தாலும், பெரிய நல்ல ஆளா இருந்தாலும், உங்களுக்கு என்ன இருக்கும்? பேஷன் இருக்கும், ஒரு சைடு இருக்கும், ஒன் சைடு இருக்கும். சரியா? அது இருக்கக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்றாரு. சரிங்களா? So it should be very, 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 very careful. Okay. பேஷன்னா என்ன சொல்றாங்க? ஏதாவது ஒரு சைடு இருக்கும், ஒரு சைடு நமக்கு இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்கும். ஃபைன். அடுத்து என்ன சொல்றாரு? அன்பியஸ்ட் பை இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட். நமக்கு ஒரு விருப்பம் இருக்கும், இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்கலாம். அல்லது எங்காவது ஒரு சார்பா இருக்கலாம், ஒரு தலைப்பட்சமா இருக்கலாம். அது எதனால வரலாம்? ஃபியர்னால வரலாம். சரியா? நம்மள அடிச்சுடுவாங்க, பிடிச்சுடுவாங்க, அல்லது இதை சொன்னா இல்ல, ஆர் ரிசன்மெண்ட், எதுக்குனாலே இருக்கலாம். இல்ல ஹிஸ்டோரியனுக்கு எல்லாத்தையும் ஆர் அஃபெக்ஷன், ஒரு அட்டாச்மெண்ட். நல்லா கொஞ்சம் this is the beautiful explanation given to a historian. நீங்க எல்லாம் போக போறது அந்த ப்ரொஃபஷனா போக போறீங்க, அது ரிசர்ச் மெத்தட் வெரி வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். இப்படிதான் தீசிஸ் ரைட்டிங் இருக்கணும் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கு சொல்றாரு. ஓகே, and faithful to truth, which is the mother of history. My dear gentlemen, we should be always faithful to truth. And how to find out the truth? That is the problem. How to find out the truth? That is the problem. அதுதான் என்ன சொல்றோம், இந்த அதான் சொல்லி கொடுக்குறாங்க. டூல்ஸ் அண்ட் டெக்னிக்ஸ், என்ன டூல்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்ண போறோம், என்ன சோர்சஸ் யூஸ் பண்ண போறோம், வெரி 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 இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். ஓகே, அண்ட் தி பிரிசர்வர் ஆஃப் கிரேட் ஆக்ஷன்ஸ். சரியா? எல்லா ஆக்ஷன்ஸையும் நம்ம பார்த்து வச்சுக்கணும், உள்ள கண்டுபிடிக்கணும். அதுக்குதான் இப்போ உள்ள ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் என்ன செய்யறாங்க, வாட்ஸ்அப்ல வரது மட்டுமே உண்மை நினைச்சுக்கிறாங்க. வாட்ஸ்அப்ல வரது உண்மை ஐயா? சொல்லுங்க, வாட்ஸ்அப்ல வரது எல்லாம் எவ்வளவு உண்மையா இருக்கும்? வாட்ஸ்அப்ல ஒரு டூல் வச்சுக்கலாம். சரியா? வாட்ஸ்அப்ல வருது, அதை உண்மை வச்சுக்கலாமா? கமான், யாருமே செல்போன் யூஸ் பண்ண மாட்டீங்களா? எத்தனை பேர் செல்போன் யூஸ் பண்ணல? கை தூக்குங்க பார்க்கலாம். எல்லாரும் யூஸ் பண்றீங்க, வெரி குட். வாட்ஸ்அப்ல நியூஸ் வாசிக்கிறீங்க, நீங்க வாசிக்கலாமா? வாசிக்கிறீங்க, அது உண்மையா? 50-50 நிஜமா? ஓகே, 50-50. எப்படி 50-50 உங்களுக்கு தெரியும்? சும்மா சொல்லுங்க. யாரு சார்? யார் கொஞ்சம் கை? ஓகே, அதுல ரியாலிட்டி நடக்குதா?
ரியாலிட்டி நமக்கே தெரியும் சார். சில இது உண்மையா இருக்கும், சில இது ஃபிக்ஷனா கூட இருக்கலாம்.
ஃபிக்ஷனா இருக்கும். யாருக்கு தெரியும்? உங்களுக்கு தெரியுமா? உங்களை மாதிரி எல்லாம் இருக்காங்க, எல்லா ஸ்டூடெண்ட், எல்லா ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் இருக்காங்க சார்? இருக்காங்க, நிஜமாவா? அப்ப எல்லா பையனும் ஜமால் முகமது காலேஜ் ஹிஸ்டரி டிபார்ட்மெண்ட் அனுப்பி வேண்டாம். I am proud, very happy that at least you have the gut to say that. சந்தோஷம், வெரி குட். சோ எல்லாரும் அப்படி இருந்தது இல்ல, சரிங்களா? ஓகே, அதனால என்ன செய்யணும், வாட்ஸ்அப்ல வர செய்தியை முழு செய்தி நினைச்ச முடியாது. சரியா? 50-50 எவ்வளவு இருக்குது, அது எவ்வளவு இருக்குன்னு ஆகும். ஏன் 50 நம்புறது இல்ல? அந்த 50 ஏன் நம்புறது இல்ல? ஏன் நம்புறது இல்ல? கமான், ஏன் நம்புறது இல்ல? அதோடைய வெராசிட்டி யாரும் கண்டுபிடிக்கிறது இல்ல. ஒரு எழுதுறாரு, எனக்கு ஒரு நாள் ஒரு தமிழ் பேப்பர்ல எழுதுறாங்க. சரியா? காலேஜ் நடந்த ப்ரோக்ராம், நானு வாழ்த்துறையும் போட்டிருக்குது. அன்னைக்கு நானு அந்த வாழ்த்துறைக்கு போகல. சரிங்களா? வர்ற பேப்பர்ல என்ன வருது, என் பேரை போட்டு முதலாளர்கள் வாழ்த்து பேசினார்கள், முடிஞ்சு வச்சு. நீ அதை கோட் பண்றியா? நீங்க ஒரு 15 வருஷம் கழிச்சு அதை பத்தி ஒரு டாக்குமெண்ட் எழுதுறீங்க. சரியா? அதில் முதல்வர்கள் இப்படி பேசினார்கள், பேசின வாழ்த்துறை பேசினார்கள், முடிஞ்சு வச்சு. அப்படி எழுதலாமா? சரியா? முடியாது. அதை எடுத்து வாட்ஸ்அப்ல ஒருத்தர் போடுறாங்க, நீங்க வாசிக்கிறீங்க. சரியா? அந்த டேட்டும் போட்டுருக்காரு, இன்னைக்கு உள்ள ஒரு பேப்பர் போட்டிருக்காரு. அது உண்மையா இருக்குமா? உண்மையா இருக்குமா? உண்மை இருக்காது, உண்மை இருக்காது. உண்மையை நோக்கி செல்ல வேண்டும். அதனால அதை மனசுல இப்படி ஒரு அருமையான ஒரு நமக்கு கொடுத்திருக்கிறார், அதை மனசுல வச்சுக்கணும். ஓகே, ஃபைன். அதனால இப்போ இன்னொன்று இருக்குது, அதோட என்ன இது சொல்றீங்க, சாட் ஜிபிடி எல்லாம் வந்துருச்சு. கரெக்டா எக்ஸாக்டா சொல்றாங்க. சாட் ஜிபிடி எத்தனை பேர் யூஸ் பண்றீங்க? கமான், புட் அப் யுவர் ஹேண்ட்ஸ். சாட் ஜிபிடி, வெரி குட், வெரி குட். ஐ அப்ரிஷியேட் யூ ஆல். ஃபைன், வெரி குட். எல்லாரும் நல்லா கை எடுங்க. ஓகே, வெரி குட். சாட் ஜிபிடி யூஸ் பண்றீங்க. இப்ப என் டாக்க என்னை விட நீங்க நல்லா கொடுக்கலாம். when you chat ஜிபிடி அப்படிதானே, நீங்க என் டாபிக் அடிச்சீங்கன்னா, ஏதாவது ஒரு டாபிக் அடிச்சீங்கன்னா ஒரு நிமிஷம் இருக்குமா? ஒரு நிமிஷம், ஃபிராக்ஷன் செகண்ட், ஒரு நிமிஷம் ஆகாதுங்கிறாரு. ஒண்ணு இல்ல, ஒரு நிமிஷம் கூட ஆகாது. சடச்சடச்சுன்னு கட்டிடுது. ரைஸ் மில்ல கப்பு புக்குன்னு விடுற மாதிரி சடச்சட தட்டுது. ஒரு டாபிக் அடிங்க நீங்க ஏதாவது தெரிஞ்ச ஆளுகிட்ட தெரியாத சொல்லுங்க மத்தவங்களுக்கு. அப்புறம் என்னை விட பெட்டரா கொடுக்கலாம், என்னை விட பெட்டரா தெரிஞ்சு எழுதலாம். என்ன சொல்றாங்க, என்ன டேஞ்சர் இருக்குன்னா லாயர்ஸ் எல்லாம் ஒன்னும் கேஸ் ஸ்டடி எல்லாம் வாசிக்க தேவையில்ல, கைப்பற்றாங்கன்னா போதும், எல்லாம் ஆர்கியூமெண்ட் சூப்பரா அவங்கள பெரிய பல்கிவாலா கூட நல்ல நாயெல்லாம் வரலாம், சாட் ஜிபிடி கூட தெரிஞ்சா போதும். ஓகே ஃபைன். ஆனா அது உண்மையா எப்படி வெளியே பண்றது? திஸ் இஸ் வேர் அவர் ரோல். ஓகே அவர் ரோல் கம்ஸ். ஓகே தட் இஸ் வெரி வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். சாட் ஜிபிடி வந்து அப்புறம் உலகமே கலங்கி போயிருக்கு. என்னங்கடா இப்ப எங்களுக்கு பிரச்சனை, வாத்தியார்களுக்கு பிரச்சனை. இப்ப நீங்க எல்லாம் சாட் ஜிபிடியோட வரீங்க, ஏன்னா நீங்க டெக்னோகிராட்ஸ், நாங்கெல்லாம் அந்த அளவுக்கு இல்ல. இதா போட்டு தடவிட்டு பாருங்க, சரியா? இதே இது உங்கள்கிட்ட கொடுத்தனா சடன் ஒரு கட்டு தட்டுவா கையில வச்சு நீங்க வாழை பேசிட்டே இருக்கோம். நமக்கு 4 பேர் தலையிட்டு வேண்டியிருக்குது, சரியா? மாத்தி மாத்தி. So you are experts, சரியா? Now young professionals are experts, okay, but veracity இருக்குதா, ட்ரூத் இருக்குதா, எப்படி கண்டுபிடிக்கிறது? Is that not true? எப்படி கண்டுபிடிக்கிறது? Now you have to go to the evidence sets. Yeah, sources. நம்ம என்ன சொல்றோம், sources கேட்கும். Sources உங்களுக்கு தெரியும் நிறைய. சரியா? ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் நீங்க ரொம்ப அட்வான்ஸா இருக்கிறீங்க, அதாவது ரொம்ப லிபரலா இருக்கிறீங்க, என்ன சொல்றது, ரொம்ப ப்ரோக்ரெசிவா இருக்கிறீங்க, ஏன்னா சபால்டன் ஸ்டடிஸ் பத்தி படிக்கணும், ஃபைன் படிக்கிறீங்க, ஃபோக்லோர் யூஸ் பண்றீங்க, ஃபைன் யூஸ் பண்ணலாம், யூ கேன் யூஸ் இட், ஃபைன். பட் ஃபோக்லோர்ல சொல்றதெல்லாம் உண்மையா? Father, folklore is a very, very important source. Father, it's a very important source. You would like to use it, fine, you can use it. But is it true? Folklore is உண்மையா? வரலாம் உண்மையா? எந்த ஊரு ராஜா, நீங்க எந்த ஊரு? சும்மா பெரிய மனுஷன் என்னது? ராம்நாடு. ராம்நாடுல ஒரு ஊர்ல இருந்து உங்க ஊரை பத்தி ஒரு போக்குல இருக்குன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, சரியா? அது ஒரு போக்குலரை பத்தி உங்க அப்பா உங்கள்ட்ட சொல்லியிருக்கிறாரு, எழுதி வச்சிருக்கிறாரு, ரைட்? அதுல கூட எல்லாம் உண்மையா இருக்கலாமா? இருக்க முடியுமா? தெரியாது. தெரியாது சொல்லாமா? நீ இருக்காதுங்கிறா, தெரியுமா? தெரியாதா? இருக்காதா? தெரியாது. தெரியாது சொல்லாம போத உங்க அப்பா உனக்கா கஷ்டப்பட்டு எழுதி வச்சு போயிருக்காரு, பாவம், வேலையெல்லாம் ஒண்ணு என்ன செய்யணும்? ஹிஸ்டரி எழுதுற, உங்க ஊரை பத்தி ஹிஸ்டரி எழுதுறாருக்கா, உங்க அப்பா வந்து ஒரு போக்குலோட, உங்க பாட்டி சொன்ன போக்குலோட உங்க அப்பா எழுதி வச்சிருக்கிறாரு, அதை ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கிறாரு, சரியா? ஆமா, நீ அதை கோட் பண்ண விரும்புற, வெரி குட், கோட் பண்ற, சூப்பர். ஆனா அதுல உண்மை ஃபுல்லா இருக்குமா? சரியா? கரெக்டா 50 நெட்ஸ்டாப்ல பாதி பாதி அப்படியா? கரெக்டா 50 இருக்குமா? கமான் கமான் கமான், இன்டராக்டிவா இருந்தா நல்லா இருக்குயா, சரியா? அப்பதான் கிளாரிட்டி கிடைக்கும், சரியா? நானே பேசிட்டு இருந்தா நல்லா இருக்காது. சோ 50 ஓகே, 50 வச்சுக்கலாம். அப்ப அது உண்மையா 50 இருக்கிறத எப்படி கண்டுபிடிக்கிறது? எப்படி ரிசர்ச் பண்ணுவீங்க? போய் பாருங்க. வெரி குட், வெரி குட். யாரா கைதறியா? போய் பாருங்க. கிடைக்குமா? கிடைக்கும், கிடைக்காம இருக்கும், சரியா? அப்ப என்ன செய்யணும்? Now you have to use other tools, other sources. Those sources should be used as in the tools. Okay, tools வச்சு அதுக்கு உண்மைதானான்னு கண்டுபிடிக்கணும். அதுதான் இந்த செமினார். ஓகே, உண்மையை கண்டுபிடிப்பதே நமது நோக்கம். அதை எழுதுவதே வரலாற்று அறிஞர்களின், வரலாற்று ஆய்வாளர்களின், வரலாற்று மாணவர்களின் கடமை, சரிங்களா? அதை மனசு வச்சுக்கணும். ஓகே, தட் இஸ் வெரி வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட், தட் இஸ் வெரி வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். ஓகே, நான் சாட் ஜிபிடில பெரிய அட்வான்ஸ் இருக்குது, ஆனா உண்மை இருக்குமா? தெரியல. ஐ டோன்ட் நோ, we have to go little, கொஞ்ச நாள் ஆனா தான் தெரியும் எப்படி எல்லாம் இருக்குது. பெரிய அளவு பார்வோட போயிட்டாங்க, இங்கே போயிட்டாங்க, எல்லா ஆஸ்பெக்ட்லயும் சாட் ஜிபிடி இருக்குங்கிறான். அப்படின்னா கோட்டை ஜாட்டி மட்டும் சாட் ஜிபிடி வச்சு அடிச்சுறாங்க, அப்படிதானே? தெரியலாம்ல, என்னய்யா எல்லாம் வந்துச்சு, இந்த கேஸ் மட்டும் போட்டு இதெல்லாம் போட்டு ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட் கொடுனா பெஸ்ட் சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் ஜட்ஜை விட நல்ல ஜட்ஜ்மெண்ட் வந்துடும் நம்ம லோவர் கோர்ட்ல, அப்படிதானே? பாசிபிலிட்டி இருக்குது, நிறைய பாசிபிலிட்டி இருக்கு, சரியா? பட் தேர் ஆர் அதர் இம்ப்ளிகேஷன்ஸ் ஆல்ரெடி. ஸோ விச் யூ ஷுட் நோ. ஓகே ஃபைன். அவர் இன்டர்வியூஸ் போறீங்க, இந்த சார் வந்து இந்த இன்டர்வியூ டெக்னிக் சொல்லி கொடுக்க போறாரு, நான் அவர் வந்து டெக்னிக் சொல்லி கொடுப்பாரு, ஆர்ட் சொல்லி கொடுக்க போறாரு, சரியா? பட் நீங்க அதோட என்ன செய்யணும்? அதுல உண்மையான்னு பார்க்கணும், சரியா? அவங்க நியூஸ் பேப்பர்ல போடுறதுக்கு இன்டர்வியூ பண்ண போறாங்க, ரைட்? இன்டர்வியூ பண்ணியாச்சு, நான் அவரு சொல்லிட்டாரு, இப்படி ஆண்டு வந்து எடுக்கிறாரு, உங்க காலேஜ்ல உங்க ஹெச்ஓடி வந்து எடுக்கிறாரு, யாரு? தீபக் சாரு. உங்க செமினார் வந்துட்டு நடந்துச்சாம நல்லா நடந்துச்சாம இதுல என்ன சொல்லி எல்லாம் சொல்றாரு. அதை நம்பலாமா? தீபக் சார் கூப்பிட்டதுனால அவர் பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணதுனால அது உண்மை நம்பிடலாமா? உங்க எச்சோடி சொன்னதுனால நம்பிடலாமா? என்ன செய்யணும்? யூ ஹவ் டு கோ வெரிஃபை ஒன்ஸ் அகைன். தட் இஸ் தேர். ராங்கேன் ஒருத்தர் தான், பெரிய ஹிஸ்டோரியன், ஜெர்மன் ஹிஸ்டோரியன். ஓகே, போன் பால் ராங்கேன் சொன்னாங்க. சரியா? பெரிய ஹிஸ்டோரியன். ஹி இஸ் அ ஃபாதர் ஆஃப் தி மாடர்ன் ஹிஸ்டரி. thorough objectivity. He is known for his objectivity. Objective. அந்த மாதிரி எழுதணும். அல்லது எட்வர்ட் கிப்பன் ஒருத்தர் தான், பிரிட்டிஷ் ஹிஸ்டோரியன். நம்ம ஆளுங்கள்லாம் இருந்தாங்க. சத்யநாராயணன் இருந்தாரு, பெஸ்ட் சவுத் இந்தியன்ல, தமிழ்நாட்டுல பெஸ்ட் ஸ்காலர், நல்லா இருந்தாரு. பட் அப்ஜெக்டிவ் இருந்துச்சா? இருந்துச்சு. How far? That is question. Okay. Now, when you come to historical writing, historical thesis, remember, my dear students, you should understand that aspect, that point. Okay. Now, with these few words, I would like to end here. If you would like to ask anything, I have come here to learn also. நம்ம எல்லா யாருக்கும் ஒரே ஆளுக்கு உண்மை தெரியும் சொல்ல முடியாது. I come here to learn. So you also can ask me some question. Remember, two more things I would like to say. Interdisciplinary approach should be there. Not only approach, also in using tools. அதுதான் நம்ம சார் கூப்பிட்டுருக்கோம். நிறைய இன்டர்டிசிப்ளினரி அப்ரோச் இருக்குது, இன்டர்வியூஸ் இருக்குது, அல்ல கேஸ் ஸ்டடிஸ் இருக்குது. ஒன்னா பார்த்து பாருங்க. So it will be very very useful for you. Okay, fine. எப்பொருள் யார் யாராய் கேட்போம், மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது அறிவு. அதுதான் மெய்ப்பொருளை நோக்கி செல்ல வேண்டும். நம்ம திருவள்ளுவர் சொல்லியிருக்கிறாரு, ஊர்ல சொல்லியிருக்கிறாரு, மெய்ப்பொருள் காண்பது. அதுதான் அறிவு நாயனது, அதுதான் வரலாற்று அறிவு நாயனது, அதுதான். சரிங்களா என்று கூறி எனக்கு மீண்டும் ஒரு முறை உங்களுக்கு நன்றி கூற வேண்டும். தலைவர்களாக நன்றி கூறணும். Thank you very much for inviting me. If you have any question, please, you are most welcome. We will collectively reflect on that. நான் ஆன்சர் சொல்ல போதும் இல்ல, எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து கலெக்டா reflect பண்ணுவோம். Any questions? ஆல் அவுட் ஆஃப் போத் பாரு. ஐயா உங்களை வந்து உங்களுக்கு அனுப்புற வேண்டாம். சரியா? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes, thank you very much. So nice of you.
Thank you for having our meeting today. Thank you. Time to order the guest of the technical session. I request the Lord Principal of St. Joseph's College to honor today's technical session guest, Mr. S. Deepak Raj. We request him to adorn a shawl. Kindly give a sound of applause, please. And we also request him to present the momentum. We request our of the department to present the certificate to the guest. Overall, thanks to all the dignitaries on stage for their valuable presence.
என்ன இப்படியே ஆன் பண்ணுங்க.
It's time to proceed with technical sessions. Technical session one, part of interviewing, will be presented by Mr. S. Deepak Raj. Mr. S. Deepak Raj, Special Correspondent, Times of India. He is a B.Tech graduate. He has a wide experience of more than 15 years as journalist and has covered significant events like Mr. Light protest, Gaza cyclone, Nadu protest, fisherman disputes, and many such prominent issues. The Department of History feels a great pleasure in sharing the session with you, sir, and over to you, sir.
Hello everyone. Deepak Karthik. I'm not in best of health. I was very sore throat, so couldn't use my original voice. In case if I'm not audible properly, please ask me to repeat. I will go through again. So let's start with art and techniques of interviewing. So interviewing has many meanings, and interviewing as a journalist, we will interview to gain information. And in case of HR interview, that is different to offer jobs. But in case of yourself, interviewing is to gain some credible information for your thesis or for your research. So these are the types of interviews. So the one I'm going to tell you is will be more relevant to you. So I have selected some of the relevant topics for you and shared some slides. So according to your aspect of interviews is basically to gather facts and opinions of experienced people, experts, or someone who has some relevant experience in the field of your research. So it's basically to gather facts, opinions, and thoughts about the subject from a person who has experience or who is an expert in the subject. So it is between a quality, it should be a very quality interaction. It's not about how long you interact. It's not about how many hours you interact or what kind of person you interact. It's about the quality of the information that is shared between you. So how to get the quality interaction out of it, I will be telling in the next slides. So my opinion is interview is the best tool to get the first-hand information. You can read books. But books will be, it's a mono information. Books will not give any other feedbacks to us. It will just give us simple information and we will be inferring the meaning out of it based on our understanding. But in interviewing, you can debate or even you can discuss with your friends and gain some information based on the interaction with the expert. Next slide. So let this interaction be we shall have some question and answer kind right now because some of you might be sleepy at the last one. So let's have some interaction at beginning. So this photo, what teaches you? This the game of chess, what teaches you? And this in this picture, what do you understand? It may be wrong, no problem. Just this answer. Just what do you observe from this picture? Anyone?
Even the wrong move.
Not
Wrong move.
wrong, bad move. Yeah, that's right. Very good. That's right. Next slide.
Next slide. We still have time.
So in chess, actually, the game of chess, it's not about making the best moves that will give you a win. Both players makes the best moves. It will end up in a stalemate. It will be a draw. The one person who makes a bad move, he will be losing. So in interviewing, we first know what is a bad. What are the bad moves in interviews that will end up the interview in a very bad state. So let's first go through the bad techniques of like what are all the bad things that we can do in the interview. Next slide. So what makes a bad interview? So that there are some single lines are given. You can even note it down or can go through it. I will be explaining it one by one. So a bad interview will start with a bad impression. Very first impression you make with the expert or you make with the other experienced person in the subject that you are researching. It's a bad impression, starting with a bad impression. Like arriving late for the interview. So you might have scheduled the interview for 10 a.m., but you will be late by 15 minutes. You will be going by 10:15. Or you will be arriving it late, very late, or you may be asked for rescheduling the interview. So these are all the first bad impressions that you can make in starting the interview. And also a proper dress code. So when you go and attend the interview with a proper person, you should be dressed up proper. You cannot go in shorts or something. These are all some basic things that you know, but you should have in mind that the interview is not about just getting the information, but also how you look or how you appear in the interview, or how you make yourself project among the experts. So other thing is how will you approach the expert? Some of you might have already done some interviews, and some of you are in line are in queue to do the interviews. How would you approach an expert? What is the proper way to approach an expert? How would you approach? In case you want to interview a person, let's say a historian, a renowned historian, how would you approach? How do you think you can approach? Any ideas? Any plans? How do you have like how can you approach him? You can just call him, or like you can just text him, or what do you think the best way to approach a person for interview? The best way is to write an email. Most of the experience, or maybe research fellows, or some might be there, some might be lecturers, professors, or in case of some who are not experts, who are not experts, but they have some vast experience out of their practical daily knowledge, they may not be using mail, but the majority people would be using mail. So why I say mail is you can explain why you are going to interview. You can explain what you are doing with the research. So by explaining, you can make him feel comfortable. Like you are not going to drag him in a tough situation. You are going for a genuine reason, that is to get the information. So by mailing him, you can give some more knowledge, more information about the purpose of the interview. But when you call, you might be attending some other meetings, or you might be some other busy schedule. So you may not be in a proper position to respond. So he will ask for postponing the interview, or you may be in a position to stop the interview like that. But when you mail, you will have some time to respond. So that mailing is the best way to reach out to a person you are going to interview for. When I interview for my news article, I would go for mail, because the person will get ample time to read what I'm going to do, what I'm going to expect from you. Right? So mailing is a good thing to do. And first, other things that can go make an interview bad is that being insensitive. What do you mean by being insensitive? What can be the thing that makes you insensitive to the person who are going to give you the information? Any idea what is being insensitive means? So being insensitive and I think the sentiments means, the person you are going to interview might be a very old man. It could be some 70s, 80s, or it might be a very, very old man, but you are being a very young fellow. You have to show him that you have to treat him with respect. Because we Indians and we people do expect respect. We are not from the Western culture. So we have to treat him with respect to make him very comfortable and make him to open up. So without showing some respect or without showing some courtesy, we cannot expect him to give the best. So most of the person will be senior. The person you will be interviewing will be not be junior like us or somewhere in the 30s, 40s. Most of them would have crossed their age of 50 years. So they expect some respect from the person you are going to get the information from. So you have to be very sensitive in treating them, and you should not be very we should not offend them by any other means, like going late, and the way you sit, the way you enter his room, or where you handle everything matters. So that makes the interview go bad in case if you are insensitive and if you are not treating with respect. And other thing is, don't try to prove yourself. You are just learning. You are just trying to understand the information. You are just trying to gather some facts. So it doesn't mean that you know everything. So whenever he speaks, you have to listen and understand what he's going to tell you. Don't try to prove yourself. Like something that he's going to tell or he's already telling, that might be known to you already. But you should not stop him. Like, no, I know this thing. Or like, this one is very known. Everyone knows it. Like that, don't lose your word. Don't give some loose talks like that. So that will stop them. That will not encourage them to tell you some more information that you don't know. Another thing is saying enough. Like, no, when you ask for detailed information, they will tell you something, like, coming to the point will take some time for them. If you are asking for very broad history of something, it will take some 1 or 2 minutes for them to give the information that you need. So don't say that something like, we can move to the next topic. That is enough, that I have enough information. In interviewing, there is nothing like no enough thing. Be it for journalism kind of interview or for your research kind of interview, any kind of interview, the more you talk and more you spend time with that person, you will get the information. So saying enough or saying I know will spoil your the chance to get the information from. So some of you may be sleepy. What is this? Do you know this particular scene from a Tamil movie? Anyone? Anyone from the back? Pasha. No, not Pasha. It's kind of old movie. You may not be aware. But it is a very known dialogue. Right. So just Raghuvaran telling, I know, that thing you will be repeatedly telling. You'll be telling again and again for us. Oh, in the scene, you'll be telling that I know. So never serve this thing to the person who is going to share you the information. Like if in case if he's going to tell you something that even you know, don't stop him by saying that I know this thing. When you say that I know, they will stop that thing there itself and they will go on to some other topic. When you project yourself that you don't know this thing, there is a chance that you may get some information that you don't know. And never interrupt a person while they are talking to you. Even if you have some doubts in whatever information that he shares you, hold it and note it down and use it. Ask the question sometime later. Do not interrupt him for asking a question which was already he was asking you answering a question that you already asked. Next slide. So what makes an interview great? We just came across what makes an interview bad. What things that we do go bad for an interview. Here we're going to see what makes an interview great. Any idea what would be the best interview that would be? What's your idea about the best interview? What should be the outcome of the best interview? Any idea? As said, you have to make your subject feel valued and important. If you are going to his place or if you are going for a common place, ensure that you choose a correct place and correct time. You have to ask the person who is going to share the information is very convenient time to speak. It should not be the time he is very busy with. It should not be the time everyone is busy with, like Monday mornings or some other time. The time you choose for the interview should be very proper time, which you can extend and prolong for getting some more information from. So choosing the location and time is very important for a good interview. And as said, you have to make the subject or make the person you are going to interview feel very valued. And he should be felt the importance. No, when you go and attend the interview, you should know that you are coming there for a purpose. It's not some time pass or something. It's not that we have been asked to do by your professors. You have to make him feel that you really need the interview and you really want some information from him in the process of interviewing. So that's the first thing you have to do to make him very feel valued, so that he will feel comfortable and open up whatever information he has. When we go for interview, you do the same. When we go for interview for a news article, the first thing we do is make them feel comfortable. Be it the way they sit or be it the place around us, we have to listen to them. We have to hear them properly. So the first thing is to make everyone in the space feel comfortable. And we have to research about them. Before going for an interview, the very first thing that you should do is research about the individual who has given his time for you to interview. Research him about, in the sense, you might know him already. Like you know his work, you may know his area of expertise, and you know what is his educational qualification. But beyond that, you can check his social media handles, like what kind of person he is, what kind of ideology he has, and what kind of affiliation he has. The reason is because we are in a very diverse environment. We have so many political affiliations and so many religious affiliations. So your objective should be to get the information, not to establish your ideology or your sentiments. So you have to research about them, so that you can avoid telling some words that would offend. Like you might be interviewing someone who is a very religious person, but you may not be associated with the same religion or same political background like that. So you should not open up those things during the interview. That would make the interview go bad. That might be a bad example. No? When he is not liking something and you are sharing more about the things that he do not like, he may not open up that soon. He may have some doubts over you, and he may feel uncomfortable, so that the information that he shares will be restricted. So do some research about him and do some research. What are all the information that you need from him? Be very specific. So you might be a research fellow in multiple topics, but you have to be very particular in what kind of information you look for. So you have to listen to me very actively. So whenever I'm speaking, if you are listening to me actively, I will be very encouraged to speak more. When I am talking, you are doing some other things, or you are very actively discussing with others, I will feel discouraged to answer more. So the first thing you should do is first thing you should do is you have to listen actively. Whenever he starts talking, you have to listen actively. You should have a very good eye contact. You should note down whatever he says. So listening actively and noting down the doubts that he's answering. Whatever the answers he's giving, if you have any doubts from it, note it down separately. And record the conversation, even the known information. That is very known to you. But even the known information should be recorded. Just because you know that, don't stop that there itself and just go for other topics. Even the known information should be recorded, so that you can quote him some other topics. You can quote him, his experience in some other topics, so that they will get a clear. You will be feel very confident in writing about it or defending about it. So even known information, when acknowledged by the expert, you will be very confident to share it with them. Next slide. So first thing is how to introduce yourself. How would you introduce before an expert? So you have to say, you have to give some personal information. You have to identify some information that will be of interest to you. Like you and him might be from the same place. You might belong to the same city, or you might be connected with a common friend or a common family member, or someone in his workplace might be known to you or might be relative to you. So what are all the convenient points to make you feel comfortable? Note it down. And while introducing it, you just give him a hint that this person was the guy who referred you, or this person was the guy who suggested you, so that they will feel confident in opening up. In case if I am a very stranger to you, I don't know anything about you, and you are coming to me and asking information, I will have some reservations. I will not share every information, every confidential information with you. But when you give me some, like my professor suggested you, I need some information from you. If you approach me that way, I might share something that is not known to you. So whenever you introduce with some link that could make them feel comfortable to share the information. That could be both from the same place or studied in the same institution, like that. So, and second thing is you have to explain the purpose of the interview at the very beginning, so that they will not doubt you, so that they will not have some reservation that you are asking this information which might be harmful to them. So when you tell the purpose of the interview, they will be very confident. So this guy has come to get this information only. He is not here to gather some other information. He is not going to investigate me like that. So you have to share the purpose of the interview at the very first impression, so that they will feel very confident. And don't give an impression that that expert will be held responsible for his comments. When he feels that you are just getting the information from him, you will be very comfortable to share you more information. But when you give an impression that he will be held responsible for whatever talk he made, he will be very reserved. So he will be very careful in telling the information. So he may not open up the entire expertise or entire experience of his student. So don't give an impression that the expert will be held responsible for anything that is. Last thing is, do not over impress him. Like when you go and meet a person, say for example, say he's a head of an institution, and you are going with very proud and telling that I know this political person, or I know this this institutional person, or I know someone X Y Z, or some very senior person. So when you give an impression that you have so many strong connections, they will feel very no, they will feel very careful in telling the information to you, because when you project yourself as a very important person, there will be some doubts for them that why you have come, why you have chosen them for the interview. So don't over impress them. You have to just get the work done by getting the information, and you should not try to impress them based on your contacts or based on your strong connection. So questioning has very different stages. Uh, there are multiple stages. When I have an information and I am not going to share this with you, you are going to ask me questions again and again to get the information from me at any cost. So that thing will take a time, and there are some levels to ask a question in a phased manner. The first stage is give the expert a projection that you are keen. So when you are having an interaction, a one-to-one interaction, you have to open the note before him. You have to give an impression that you are noting down everything, and you have to be very professional in doing that. You should be very happy to share. Your activities should make him very comfortable and very confident in sharing these things. So give the expert a projection that you are very keen in listening from him. So if you are not showing the interest, if you're not interested in whatever he says, you will be discouraged to share more information. So start with simple questions. Like, the expert might be a historian in British India thing. Let's say, for example, he might be an expert in British imperial colonial history. So ask some very simple questions, some very information that you already know. Even if you know, ask such questions in the very first thing, so that they will not be feel threatened. You are not going to prove yourself. You are not going to disapprove. You are just going to get the information. Your purpose is to get the information. So the first questions you ask they should be felt very friendly. They should be felt very strong. You should not threaten him with your question. Very first question you ask should not be threatening. So you have to ask with a simple question. So making him realize that you are noting down all his opinions. That's what I said. Even the trivial information that he shares, even the information that is known to everyone, you have to note it so that you will be very confident, so that you will be very happy that you are giving him the respect that is respect. So don't start with tough and controversial questions. When you ask the very first question in a controversial topic, you will be very reserved. You will not be opening. So you have to progress very slowly, starting with a very easy questions, and then finally you should go with the tough and controversial question. Yeah, that's this particular meme. Do you know? Like the last meme I shared, this particular meme. Do you have any idea what is this? What is this meme about? Let it be an interaction. Let not be a single person who's talking. Any idea what to say? What this meme is about? Do you know? Do you know this? This one is Alagar Sami Kudirai movie actually. That the horse would be stolen, and they'll be doing some black magic to note down where the horse went and all. So this person is the black magic guy from Kerala, and he'll be doing some rituals to identify where the horse is. So that Suri is the person who is you are assume that person who we are interviewing. So this guy will ask him, where is that horse? Where is that horse? The questions will be repeated multiple times to get a particular answer from him. That is not a fine thing to do in an interview. You should not force an opinion. You should not force an answer from him. That they will feel threatened. They will not proceed with the interview. They will cite some reason to end the interview. So do not force for an opinion. Do not force for an answer compulsorily from him. Next slide. So now we are in stage two. First stage is asking with very simple questions with a very giving the confidence that they. First stage is the one we are going to ask with a very simple and easy questions to make them feel very friendly to open up. And we are in the second stage. So verify whether you have noted down the answers for the simple questions that you already asked, because you cannot repeat the question. If you repeat a question again and again, that's what happens. That guy will get bored. He will not be interested to progress with the further questions. He will feel that this guy is asking the question again and again. You may feel bored. So whatever he says, whatever the answers he gives, it might be wrong, good, bad, or whatever it is, just note it down. So and ensure that you have noted the correct data, because since you are from history, the years will be very important for you. And act, the name of the act, everything will be very important. So note it down the correct data and ensure that you are, when you frame the next question, ensure that you are quoting the year that you already said. Say, for example, he said that in 1858 it happened. The next question is, you said that it happened in 1858. This, why we do this is because if you noted down the wrong year, like if you have noted 1859 or some other year, when you frame this in the next question, they will correct it. So that you don't need to ask the question again, whether, no, you don't need to ask it again and again. So you have to frame question wisely and be specific in asking the question at this stage. Don't go for a wide area questions. Be specific so that you will save a lot of time. You should not ask a question very wide way of. You should ask very specific questions for him so that he can answer the question in a very short manner, in a very short. And don't ask too many questions repeatedly. Give them the time. Give them the time to respond. Once they feel that they have given the information, they will slow down. At that time, you ask the next question. And don't ask many questions that would end with a simple yes or no. Like, there are some questions that cannot be ended with a yes or no. You need some information from them. That is the reason you are interviewing him. So don't frame your questions which would be completed or which should be entered with a simple yes or simple no. If he says yes, that's it. That's the end of the question. So don't frame questions which would end with yes or no. You should be making him to speak more about the question. So you should rekindle. And the last one in this phase is you have to ensure that he is coming to the point. He might be a person who is very bored. He might be a very senior person. Nobody is talking to him. So he might be finding this interview to spend his time. There are chances. There are two types of people. One section they won't talk much. They will be very reserved. And another section they will be talking everything. They will be answering everything off the topic, on the topic. They will deviate from some other. So don't stop them. Let them deviate or let them flow. But ensure that your objective has been addressed by. Let him take some time. Let him take some time. But ensure that he has addressed the exact point that you are expecting. So the final stage of questioning, here you should ask some controversial or some tough questions. We should not start with the tough questions. Like I said, the first set of questions that you ask should be very friendly. You should not be apprehensive. You should not be threatening. But in the final stage, there are some questions that you cannot leave out. You have to ask those questions anyway. So here you can ask some questions that are tougher. So ensure that the main information, but before asking the tough questions, you should ensure that the 95% of the purpose of the interview is already addressed. So most of the information that you are expecting from him, ensure that those were shared by you. And then go for the tough questions. Slowly throw the tough or controversial questions. That is what I said. You have to ensure that most part of the information that you are expecting from me, you are answering. If you are very sure that those information are shared, you can go for the tough questions. So these are the phases. When you ask the tough questions, see, there is a chance that he might end the interview. This guy is expecting something from me, which will put me in a problem. He may feel like that way, and he will stop it. So the tough question should be reserved for the final stage. So there are chances that that person would have experienced the situation. Like if you are asking him about his experience, you should make him feel that you are by his side. You should not be projecting yourself as someone who would doubt him or someone who would disapprove. You should make him feel that he or her should be very confident in sharing the toughest part of his experience. So this will make him feel confident and comfortable opening up the information more as you need. So you should show him or her that you are by his side, persuade for an opinion. Like earlier I said that don't force an opinion. Persuading for an opinion is a very different. Persuading in the sense, you need some information, but he's not sharing it to you, but you know that he knows the information. So you have to persuade him. Persuasion is a strategy. You cannot force him. You should not force him, but you can persuade him. Like, repeating the question in a different tone, repeating the question in a different time. The last thing is you have to thank him. Thank him for the time. Thank him for the place. Because it's not his duty to speak, or it's not his duty to answer your question. He just doing it of some interest to help you or like that. So ensure that you thank him enough and hint him that you might reaching out again, or you might mailing him again, you might messaging him or calling him again, so that the clarifications in the interview will be cross-checked or verified with him again. So don't end the interview abruptly so that you have got all the information. After you go to your place or after you go to your home, you might have some doubts whether you have noted it down correctly, whether he has said it correctly. So while thanking him, you have to give him a hint that I might be reaching you again so that we can cross-check the information. So how to get the best answers? We have completed the stages of the question. So how to get the best answers from the person? He is an expert. He has some vast experience in the subject that you are researching. So how to make him answer the correct thing that you are expecting. Yeah, you have to portray yourself as a desperate. Because I will share you an experience. I met a person who is an expert in farming. I was asking him some solutions for the issues faced by the farmers in Nadu. There was some hydrocarbon exploration going on, and this exploration was affecting the farming. And I was asking his opinion to ensure that whether this activity would be bad for farming. This activity would be detrimental to their farm. So how I should approach him is I should be very desperate. Even with the information that I know, everybody will know that if farmland is filled with oil or some other chemical, the farm will be destroyed. Everybody will know that. But you should not portray that you know that information already. You should be very desperate. You should project that you don't know that thing. So that there's a chance that you might share something that you don't know. But if you say that you know this thing already, there are possibilities that you might not open up some of the minute information. And structure your questions to get the best answer. As said, you should start with the friendly questions, and then easy questions, and then moderate questions. Finally, resolve the tough questions. So this is how you have to structure your questions. When you prepare for the interview, you have some separate paper for it. You have to classify the questions in such a way that the person will not feel very threatened with the tough questions when he asks it first. And as I said, give time for the expert to open for tough topics. Don't expect him to answer some crucial information at the very start of the interview. You have to make him feel comfortable. You have to make him that you are listening, you are actively listening whatever he is sharing. So that gives some time for the expert to open. And finally, ask for their bad experiences and be supportive to know the dark sides. They might have done their research too. So they might have had their bad experiences in researching too. So as for the bad experiences, like you should make them feel that you are completely relying on them. You are not doubting them, but you are completely relying on them for some information. So make them feel that they are being completely, completely followed or completely delivered, so that they will open up. They will tell some bad experiences that will be very useful for you in your research. Whenever you prepare thesis or prepare next stage of interview, that will be helpful. So these things, if you do, you can get some best answers. But everything cannot be gone with the same formula. Some of these things can be changed. Because if you know someone who is very known to you, we can go and ask the tough questions very straight. Say he is your uncle, or she might be your aunt. So we can go and ask the tough questions. So it depends upon the expert and subject person you are going to interview. So we can change these things as per your wish and as per the nature of the things not to do. As we said earlier, bad moves will make you lose. So that you should be very careful about the things that you should not do. so that the interview will not fail. Selective retention, do anybody know what selective retention is? I have given some hint in the bracket. Listening to only what you like. Just because you are going to get the historical information from them, don't pretend that you are not interested in some other topics that he is studying. Selective retention is things that you will hear or you will see that you wanted. So don't do that. Don't be in a prejudice that branding yourself for some particular thing you are expecting. So be open. Whenever you do the interview, be open and have a broader mind in asking questions and have a broader mind in listening to. I said, don't brand yourself or brand the expert. So the expert might be some individual who has an affiliation. He might be a political person, or it could be someone who is a very rich fellow, or it could be someone who has done some bad things in his past. He might have been implicated for his bad acts, but don't brand him, or don't bring some examples that could hurt him. Like he might be from a political party X. So whenever you frame the questions, ensure that you are not dragging the party or dragging the things about him in the questions, so that you will feel threatened or offended in sharing that. And passive experience is something that you should not do. Whenever you talk to someone, you should maintain a close eye contact. Instead of seeing the eye, if you are looking at what he is wearing, or what are the watch he is wearing, or what is the jewels he is wearing, he may not be interested to share the information. You should have proper eye contact in asking questions and also listening to. And bad mouthing third person. That is one thing that we always do. We should not, just because only two persons are in the room, don't talk bad about someone who is not present in the room. That might be some part of your research. Just because that person is not aware, not going to listen whatever you talk, don't badmouth. Because if you badmouth, that person who is giving the interview will feel that you are going to do the same for him. If you meet someone who is not known to him, there are chances that you might badmouth him too. So don't drag some person and don't debate about their characters or don't debate about their activities. Don't badmouth and don't suspect. The final thing is pressurizing the expert for an answer. As we saw there, we should not pressurize him. If he is not interested in answering it, you should let it go. You can interview some other expert or some person or some group. But when you pressurize and when you expect him to answer that question compulsorily, you will be in this bad mood. You will not even if that might be a very very bad experience for life actually. So you are not that your friendship with that person is not going to stop with that interview or your research. It might continue even in your work life or in your professional life or your personal life. You might be knowing someone who could help you. So don't use him for the interview. Ensure that you will maintain a cordial relationship even after the interview, so that it will be good for your research or for your career or professional personal life. So don't pressurize him and don't end it in a bad. So these are all my suggestions. How can we do the interview in a proper? So always have a backup plan. So when the first question that you asked was not answered properly, when the first question you asked was sidelined, you should have a solid backup. But you should ensure that the question is asked, whatever the question that you asked is not repeated abruptly. But you can frame the question in a different perspective. So if a question was rejected, ask a similar but from a different perspective, so that you will be convinced that you are expecting this information from you. When you ask the question in a different perspective, he will be forced personally to answer, because he knows that you are very particular in getting the information from you. So you will be opening at least 50% of the information that you. So always have a backup question. And record the interaction, but ask for a permission. Yeah, it's an ethical thing to do. Before you record this speech or whatever it is, online or offline, whatever mode it is, ask for his permission to record. Because without asking his permission, you cannot record. That is not a wise thing. So note down numbers, because as I said earlier, history involves with numbers. So note down the numbers and verify it while asking the next question, or while completing the interview, or while leaving the room like that. And use different colors for different information. For like a black color for a normal information that everyone knows, red color for some information that you specifically got from the interview, and some other color for some other information. So by doing it, when you go to your home or go to your college and read about the interviews, there will be some clarity to get what are all the important things that you have got from the interview. So always use different colors for noting down the specific information that is shared. This will also give a projection that you are very serious about the interview. The person who is answering you will be feeling very confident and very respectful because this guy has taken the interview very seriously. He has spent his time so much to make this interview successful. That is what he thinks, and he's open up more information. And ask for permission to approach him again for doubts. That is what something most of us will not do. Just because we completed the interview, that doesn't mean that the thing stops there. When you prepare the report, there may be some doubts. Like how we do when we write the news article, we might feel that all information that we got were already with us. But when we are writing about the article, we feel that some information is missing. So that we call the person again and we will get the information from him. So that is a wise thing to do. Tell him that you will be approaching him for future quarters and ask for his convenient time, whether it is email, whether it is call or WhatsApp, this is like that. So again, another name. This movie is almost everyone knows. Whenever we say interview or whenever say we a television interview or journalist interview, this thing will be coming to our mind. So what are the things that we can compare, imagine, and grab the positives and negatives out of it? So someone please tell me what is the scene is about. We know everyone, we know about this, but just let us be an interaction. What is this interview is about?
CM.
Yeah, see. Now,
இல்ல அவங்க வந்து கேள்வி கேட்பாரு. அந்த கேள்வியில ரொம்ப ட்ரிகர் ஆயிட்டு
ஒரு நாள் சேமா
அவர் கேட்பாரு.
அப்படின்னு
நீங்க இருந்து பாருங்க.
நீ அவ்வளவு கான்ஃபிடண்டா இருந்தீங்கன்னா நீயே ஒரு நாள் சேமா
பாருங்க.
இது வந்து எல்லாருமே கேட்டுடுவாங்க பாக்குறேன். But what this thing is, this is not a proper way of interviewing someone who is a very senior person. No, earlier I said that there are different types of interview. If you are predetermined, if you are very destined to collapse this identity, you can do such interviews because you are going to stain his reputation. You are going to bring him down. You are going to destroy his career. You can do such interviews because people watching it will be. I had some good impression about this guy. Oh, he is such a bad fellow. இவ்வளோ மோசமான ஆளா அப்படிங்கிற அளவுக்கு அவர் வந்து ட்ராக் பண்ணணும்னு நினைச்சா இந்த மாதிரி இன்டர்வியூ பண்ணலாம். பட் we are not going for these things. We are going to get information. We are going to use the information for us to do the research or for us to do some work. So இதுல என்ன advantages and disadvantages நம்மனா இந்த சீனுக்கு முன்னாடி பாத்தீங்கன்னா before this scene Arjun will be preparing for this. You'll be asking questions, imagining that CMS before. He will be grooming himself for it. So these are all the things that you can learn from this interview. So whenever you go for an interview, you have to prepare it proper. You have to imagine that person is sitting before you, can ask some questions. He might be a very, very famous fellow, so that you have to frame your questions very politely, like that. So that thing you can learn from this. Before going to interview, this fellow Arjun will do a little research about whatever the activities he has done. Raghuvaran as a CM, he will be doing some bad things, and you will be noting it down with very statistical. You will say unemployment rate is this much, poverty is this much. So when he project with this data, everyone will be convinced that he is asking the right question. So whenever we go for an interview, we have to be very specific with the questions, and we should back up the question with the data. So that is a positive thing we can get from the interview scenes. What are the negatives? The very first question Arjun asked will be the tough question. So just because this movie it will not work everywhere. நான் நேத்து இந்த சீனை திருப்பி ஒரு தடவை பார்த்தேன். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கொஸ்டின் அவர் கேட்கறதே வந்து அவர் வந்து ஒரு கெட்டவர்னு ப்ரொஜெக்ட் பண்றதுக்காகவே தான் வந்து கேட்டிருப்பாரு. ஸோ இது மாதிரி இந்த ஜேர்னலிசம் இன்டர்வியூவா இருக்கட்டும், எந்த இன்டர்வியூவா இருக்கட்டும், ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கொஸ்டின் வந்து we should not ask in such a way. The first question should make them feel comfortable, as said earlier. So don't ask uncomfortable question at the very beginning. And second thing is, don't try to corner the expert. Don't try to corner him or don't try to brand him or don't try to prove your point just because he is not agreeing with you. You cannot brand him. He is giving his time to answer your information. So you are in a position to thank him, and you are in a position to note the information that is going to share valuably for yours. So don't try to corner the expert, and don't make the expert to feel unsafe. Like your question should be framed in such a way that even if you share some very critical information, you will not be held responsible. So we should make him comfortable to open up the critical, very minute information so that you can apply it for yours. So that's it. These are also just examples. We always live with the cinema, right? When we say something, we will imagine with cinema. Cinema has a great role in our life, and then cricket. So we cannot. When I am seeking no cross speaking thing in interviews, when you speak, they might cross speak, but your presence is there to get the information, not to prove yourself. That's it. So let them speak, let them flow naturally. Don't interrupt them in between. Don't stop them. Don't hold them. Just let them flow. And second thing is that news debate that happened in a Pakistani news channel. Actually, the debate show the guests will be fighting with themselves just because some information that you don't like shared by another one, they will be fighting with. So don't do these things. You may not be doing all these things. Just for an example, I'm telling you, even for the future interviews or future interaction, future communication, don't engage in such things for a proper interview. So that's it. I've done my role here. If you have any doubts, you can please go on. Any doubts? Okay. Someone like knowledge.
So myself, Sanjay, so I wrote that whenever being young and if you go to collect some sources from people, when they are really intellect in the same field, they don't give us a source that easy. And at every point they want to prove that we are amateur in that particular field. They put some tough questions and they try to prove that we are amateur and how to impress that particular people and
The approach you should have done some basic research. Because we don't have Facebook, Twitter, and all. When in the past 20 years, those things were not there. Right now, we can just observe the social media handles of a person, and we can understand what kind of person he is. So, in case if 5 days back, he has made some Facebook post about commenting something, do some strategical thinking. Or make him feel that you are his side. Like he might have criticized some political things about. So don't project him that. Don't very openly say that things. For example, I'm telling for an example. Okay, I was interviewing a person who belonged to DMK. Okay, so my question should be for a person who belongs to DMK should not be about his party. It should be about other parties. So when I go and talk to him, he should be felt that I have done my research. I have done the research about him, about his party, how when it was founded, how it was founded, who they are aligned with, and what are all the good things that I have done. So make him feel comfortable, sir. நீங்க இருந்தபோது இதெல்லாம் பண்ணாங்க இப்பதெல்லாம் பண்றது இல்லையே அப்படின்னு சொன்னா they will feel very happy. So this guy is our side. Even if you are not with him politically or emotionally, whatever this thing, when you like, we have to do some like, when we want to get some information, we have to do life. That is very natural for us. We have to be it a child or adult. We have to receive them because what we need is information. We are not going to cheat them. We're not cheating them. We're just getting the information very strategically. These are all emotional, psychological aspects of question. So you have to make them feel that you are his side and you have done your research about him or his affiliation, so that they will feel very comfortable. Oh, Nama like that, like so that they will feel even if you are amateur really, they will try to explain you some better notions of.
So I have a doubt that in social science researchers, generally we touch the would say that the more commercial, very serious parts such as communal issues or something related. So how could we get the sources without offending them or without getting any issues, how to get sources from them, what kind of attitude should we maintain, and how silently we should put that question to them without pointing, taking
You will be
issues.
quoting him in your research, or you will be using his name, you will be using his name in your research.
No, not using his name in research, but when we go for a field survey and we get interviews,
Then you have to tell them that you are not going to use his name or use his institution's name. When we get some information, for example, there is a particular department in the government, there is happening something. When we go and approach for information, we will assure the person that his name will not be revealed. Whatever legal issue they ask, I will not reveal your name at any cost. That is a first ethics of journalism. We should not really reveal who the sources. So we have to cement it. You have to tell them that his name or her name, her affiliation, her institution, her native place, her ethnicity, nothing will be revealed, but only the information. So that they will feel confident that this guy will not put us in a bad position. So when you approach itself, make it sure that you are telling them that their name, their identity will not be published. Only the information.
Sorry for again question, sir. Actually, I have another doubt, that is, how will you find out your source when you interview a series of people out of 10? How will you find that this one particular person will be our source? Will give the complete information? You'll have that one particular person in controversial issues. In sense, you'll have that particular one person. When we meet series of person, you'll find a person. Now, this person will give us what the confidential information is about. How will you find this particular source?
This is research or what?
For research.
How will you actually approach a person based on his academic qualification? Right?
Yes.
You will be approaching him based on academic qualification and the type of institution he is in.
Okay.
And who are all the professors there? What are all the researchers already done? So when you do some little research, there are all the possibilities that you might get some information about their research, their expertise, their background.
It's about touching the common people. Whenever we go for a social science research, we get inside the area. For example, we are writing about a riot or something like that. We go into the place, we just meet common people. So in this common people out of the 10, how could we find ourselves?
Among the common people, you have to make them understand why you are approaching. They are not people who are often used to giving interviews. They are not regular people who are comfortable with interviews, who are not sharing information. According to them, interview means telling a news channel, telling to newspaper. But you are doing it for academic research. So open it up. Just tell them this is for academic research. Political parties will read the research and they will formulate schemes based on my research. That will benefit you. My research is, in case it's not history, my research is based on your poverty. So these many people in this village are not getting adequate money, adequate food. I'm going to search it about and I'm going to present a statistical information. I'm going to record the opinions of the people who are affected. So when a person who is in the top of an institution, who is a government, a prime minister, whatever it is, a think tank like Niti Aayog or a state planning commission, when they come across this research, when they come across the data, they will be forced to go the place. When you do research in a Perambalur or very interior places, so when you give them the statistical information, the person who is at the position to formulate schemes and formulate laws will be in a position to address the core issues. So you tell the villagers that if I do the research properly and publish a paper, there are chances that your issues will get resolved. So that they will then find. That is how we do. When we go and ask about the people, no, they say that why should I tell you? What is it? What is that for me to do? You are going to give me any money like that? They will ask. What we tell is, இதை நான் பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணோம்னா மினிஸ்டர்ஸ் பார்ப்பாங்க, கலெக்டர் பார்ப்பாரு, போலீஸ்ல பார்ப்பாங்க, ப்ரெஷர் வரும், ஆக்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க. So they, at the end of the day, they will expect some benefits from the thing that you do. The benefit could be monetary or some emotional support or whatever it is, but you just take the point. நீங்க போய் அவங்கள்ட்ட சொல்லும் போது இதை பார்த்தாங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு ஒரு சொல்யூஷன் கிடைக்கும்னு சொன்னீங்கன்னா, ஒரு இமோஷனலா கொண்டு போனீங்கன்னா, நீங்க உங்களோட கஷ்டம்லாம் தெரியுது, இதெல்லாம் நீங்க இவ்வளவு கஷ்டப்படுறீங்க, ஒண்ணுமே செய்ய மாட்டாங்க, இதை நான் பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணனா இதை வந்து there is a chance that they will take a scheme. அது மாதிரி சொன்னீங்கன்னா ரைட், தென் இவர்கிட்ட பேசினா நமக்கு ஏதாவது நல்லது நடக்கும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு பேசுவோம்.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Good morning, sir. I'm Ismail from second MA History, Jamal College. இப்போ நம்ம ஒரு ரிலீஜியஸ் பிளேஸுக்கு போறோம், ஒரு டெம்பிள் ஆஃப் மாஸ்க். அங்க வந்து அந்த டெம்பிளுக்கு இல்லைன்னா ஒரு மாஸ்க் ஒரு ட்ரூ ஹிஸ்டரி இருக்கு. அதை வந்து வெளியே சொன்னா மிஸ்யூஸ் பண்ணிடுவாங்க அப்படின்ற ஒரு பயம் இருக்கும். இதுக்கு முன்னாடி நிறைய பேர் வந்து இன்டர்வியூ பண்ணிட்டு போயிருக்காங்க, அவங்க வெளியே போய் மிஸ்யூஸ் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. இனிமே நாங்க அந்த விஷயத்த நான் உங்களுக்கு சொல்ல போறதா இல்லை அப்படின்னு. அப்பேற்பட்ட அந்த பர்சன்ஸ்ட நம்ம எப்படி அவங்கள்ட்ட இருந்து அந்த உண்மையை வாங்குறது? நான் உங்களுக்கு வந்து கேரண்டி கொடுக்குறேன், நான் அதை வெளியே மிஸ்யூஸ் பண்ண மாட்டேன். நீங்க சொல்றத உள்ளாதபடியே நான் சொல்லுவேன் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி அவங்களுக்கு நான் நம்பிக்கை கொடுத்து அந்த ட்ரூவான ஹிஸ்டரியை நான் எப்படி வெளியே கொண்டு வர முடியும், அவங்கள்ட்ட இருந்து அதை எப்படி கேட்டு தெரிஞ்சுக்க முடியும்.
இந்த எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் வந்து எனக்கே நடந்தது. இது வந்து ஒரு 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 ரிலீஜியஸ் பிளேஸ். அந்த பிளேஸ் வந்து இனிஷியலா வேற ஒரு பிளேஸா இருக்குது, ஆனா அதை வேற ஒரு பிளேஸா கொண்டு வந்தாங்க. உண்மையை சொல்லணும்னா அவங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, நீங்க போட்டீங்கன்னா இதையும் மாத்திடுவாங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க. ஸோ அதனால ட்ராப் பண்ணுவோம். பட் வாட் ஐ வுட் டெல் இஸ், நீங்க இது வந்து உங்க ஊர்லயே இருக்கிறதா?
ஆமா,
உங்க ஊர்லயே உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்ச இடம் தான்.
உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்ச இடம் தான், கொஞ்சம் தூரம், 60 கிலோமீட்டர்ஸ்.
அது யார் அதை மேனேஜ் பண்றாங்க?
ட்ரஸ்ட்.
அந்த ட்ரஸ்ட்ல யாராவது உங்களுக்கு தெரியுமா?
தெரியும்.
எல்லாருமே உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சவங்க தான்.
ஒரு பர்சன் மட்டும்
யாராவது ஒரு இது வந்து தெரிஞ்ச இடம். தெரியாத இடமா இருந்தா அந்த ஊர்ல ஒரு முக்கியஸ்தர்கள்னு சொல்லுவாங்க, இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் பீப்புள், அவங்கள ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ணலாம். அவங்கள்ட்ட போய் பேசி நம்ம டைரக்டா, எனக்கு உங்களுக்கு முன்னாடி பார்த்ததே கிடையாது, நான் உங்கள்கிட்ட வந்து சில இன்ஃபர்மேஷனை ஷேர் பண்ணுவோன்னு நீங்க நினைக்கவும் முடியாது, நினைக்கவும் கூடாது. ஏன்னா யாருமே தெரியாத எப்படி இன்ஃபர்மேஷனை சொல்லுவோம். அதுவும் அந்த இன்ஃபர்மேஷனை சொன்னா எனக்கு ப்ராப்ளம் வரும் தெரிஞ்சு நான் எப்படி சொல்ல மாட்டேன். பட் எனக்கு தெரிஞ்ச ஒருத்தர் இங்க இருக்கிறாரு, அவர் வந்து எனக்கு ரொம்ப க்ளோஸ் ஃப்ரெண்டு. அவர் உங்களுக்கு தெரியும்னா நீங்க அவர் மூலமா என்ன அப்ரோச் பண்ணா நான் என்ன பண்ணுவேன்?
கண்டிப்பா சொல்லுவேன்.
அது மாதிரி எங்க அடிச்ச யாரை பிடிச்சா வேலை நடக்கும். அது மாதிரி யாரு வந்து அதை ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ணி அவங்க மூலமா போறதுக்கோ ஒரு ஒரு சொல்யூஷன் கிடைக்க வாய்ப்பு இருக்கு. ஐ வாண்ட் சே தட் தட் வில் சர்டன்லி ஹேப்பன். இது வந்து வெரி கிரிட்டிக்கல். நீங்க சொல்றது வந்து ஃபேக்டா சொல்ல போனா நம்ம அவங்க சைடு தான் நிக்கணும். ஏன்னா இதை சொன்னா அவங்களுக்கு தான் ப்ராப்ளம்ங்கிறது நமக்கும் தெரியும். ஸோ என்ன பண்ணலாம், வெயிட் பண்ணி பண்ணலாம், சிச்சுவேஷன் மாறும் அப்ப வந்து பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னு நினைக்கிறேன். இல்லையா யார் மூலமா சொன்னா இவங்க கன்வின்ஸ் ஆகிறதுன்னு யோசிக்கணும். அதுல இருக்கிற எல்லா 5 பேர் இருக்காங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, 3 பேர் வந்து இது மாதிரி சொல்லணும், பட் 2 பேர் பரவாயில்ல சொல்லலாம் அப்படின்னு நினைக்கலாம். அவங்க மூலமா மிச்சம் 3 பேரை நம்ம கன்வின்ஸ் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணணும். ஸோ அதுக்கு நம்ம யாராவது ஒரு டைரக்டா போய் பண்ணாம யாராவது ஒரு இம்பார்ட்டன்ட் பர்சன் மூலமா அந்த ஏரியா தெரிஞ்சவங்க மூலமா அவங்க சொன்னா இவங்க கேட்பாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறவங்க மூலமா அப்ரோச் பண்ணோம்னா தேர் இஸ் சக்சஸ். அதான் அகைன் கண்டிப்பா கொடுப்பாங்கன்னு நம்ம நினைக்கவும் முடியாது, சொல்லவும் முடியாது. பட் தெரிஞ்சவங்க மூலமா போறப்போ தேர் இஸ் சான்ஸ். ஒரு என்ஜிஓவோ இல்ல வந்து ஒரு இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷனோ ஒரு ரிலீஜியஸ் அமைப்போ அது மாதிரி போனோம்னா ஸோ இவங்க நம்ம நல்லதுக்காக தான் பண்றான் அப்படின்னு நினைச்சு சொல்லுவாங்க. பட் நல்லதுக்காக பண்றான்னு தெரிஞ்சும் அது நம்மளுக்கு ப்ராப்ளம் வரும்னு நினைச்சா அவங்களும் பண்ண மாட்டாங்க. அது ஒண்ணுமே பண்ண முடியாது. பட் இதை எல்லாத்துக்கும் அப்ளை பண்ணும். ஒரு கிராமத்துல வந்து ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் இருக்கு, நீங்களே அந்த கிராமத்துக்கு வரைக்கும் நீங்க போனதே இல்லை அப்படின்னா நீங்களே உள்ள போயிட்டுலாம் சொன்னா யாரும் சொல்ல மாட்டாங்க. அந்த கிராமத்துல உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்ச யாரோ ஒருத்தர் மூலமா போனீங்கன்னா ஸோ இவர் இதுல வந்திருக்காரு, இதுக்காக வராரு அப்படின்னு இவர் இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்ணி விடுவார். ஸோ அவங்க ஒரு கான்ஃபிடன்ஸ் கிடைக்கும், சரி நல்லதுக்காக தான் பண்றாரு, ஏதாவது பிரச்சனையா இருந்தா இவர் மூலமா நம்ம கேட்டுக்கலாம்.
தேங்க்யூ.
பார்ட்டிசிபேட்டரி அப்ரோச் பண்றாங்க. ஊர்ல வந்து ஒரு வழிவகை ஊருக்குள்ள போய் ஒரு விஷயத்த வந்து நம்மளே பண்றது வந்து இன்னைக்கு வந்து நிறைய விஷயங்களை பாத்தீங்கன்னா என்னுடைய அனுபவத்துல ஊரோடதான் தேர் இழுத்தா சேர்ந்து தேர் இழுத்தா இழுத்துட்டு போயிடலாம் இல்லையா? அதே போலதான் சில விஷயங்களை வந்துட்டு நம்மளால செய்ய முடியாது, ஆனா நம்ம தான் யார் இந்த பூனைக்கு மணிக்கட்டுவா அப்படிங்கிற கதை தான் எடுக்கிறப்போ அந்த ஊரோட சேர்ந்து கொஞ்சம் நாளா எடுத்துப்போம். இல்லாட்டி அந்த ஊர்லயே வந்து கம்யூனிட்டி ஒர்க் பண்றது 4 பேர் 5 பேர் அந்த ஊர் மக்களோட சேர்ந்து பண்றப்போ அவங்களோட பிரச்சனை ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா ரைஸ் ஆகும். அதுக்கு நம்ம சும்மா பின்னாடி இருந்தாவே போதும், அவங்களே பேச ஆரம்பிச்சோம். அது ரொம்ப எளிமையான வேலை, ரொம்ப அது வீரியமும் ஜாஸ்தி, அது ரொம்ப ஈஸியா அச்சீவ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். அந்த மாதிரி எனக்கான அனுபவம் கம்யூனிட்டி ஒர்க்ல
அவங்களுக்கான ஒரு காமன் சொல்யூஷன் வந்து நீங்க அவங்க கூட சேர்ந்து ஒரு செயல்பாடா செஞ்சீங்கன்னா அவங்க ஒரு ட்ரஸ்ட் உங்களுக்கு கிடைக்கும்.
அது ரொம்ப எளிமையான வேலை. அது பார்ட்டிசிபேட்டரி அப்ரைசல்னு சொல்லுவாங்க சமூக பணியில. அங்கேயே உள்ளுக்குள்ள இருக்க என்னென்ன பிரச்சனைகள் இருக்கு, உங்களுக்கு என்ன நீட் இருக்குன்னா அப்படியே ஒரு 2 நாள் 3 நாள் ஒரு ப்ரோக்ராமா பண்ணோம்னா அது ஈஸியா வந்துடும். அவங்களே சொல்லிடுவாங்க, அவங்களே சொல்லிடுவாங்க, அவங்களே கேட்க வேண்டியது இல்லை. என்ன தேவை இருக்குது. அதுக்கப்புறம் அதுக்கு நம்ம என்ன பண்ணலாம்னு சொல்லிட்டு நம்மளே கொஸ்டின் ரைஸ் பண்ணோம்னா அவங்களே சொல்லுவாங்க. அப்ப நமக்குள்ள ஒண்ணு வச்சிருப்போம், இப்படி பண்ணா தெரியும், அவங்க செய்யாம கூட இருந்திருப்பாங்க. அந்த அப்ரோச்சை வந்து அவங்க கூட சேர்ந்து எடுத்து சொன்னோம்னா எடுத்துக்குவாங்க ஈஸியா. அப்போ ஒன்று கூடி தேர்தல் போயிடலாம், ஈஸியா போயிட்டோம்னா.
Hello.
Myself Ashish Devendra from second year student. என் கொஸ்டின் எங்கன்னா இன்டர்வியூ செஷன்ஸ் வந்து சார், இப்போ வந்து ஒரு இன்டர்வியூ வந்து கண்டக்ட் பண்ற ஒரு இன்டர்வியூ. ஐ எம் an interview. My type of question is who is possess the ages with 50 plus or 60 plus? Common man. Everyone don't have a similar characters. Some have an angry attitude. Some have a polite attitude. So what my question is, if I don't listen to the questions properly, I ask them pardon the questions. Ask them one time ask திரும்பி ஒரு டைம் சொல்லுங்க சார் அப்படின்னு சொல்லும் போது அவங்க அந்த டைம் அவங்க ஆங்கிரியா ரியாக்ட் பண்ணா நாங்க என்ன சொல்றோம்?
என்ன சிச்சுவேஷன் இருக்கு?
இன்டர்வியூ செஷன் சார்.
அவங்கதான் கேள்வி கேட்கணும்.
அவங்க கேள்வி கேட்கலாம். இன்டர்வியூவர் வந்து இன்டர்வியூயர் கேள்வி கேட்கலாம். கேள்வி கேட்கும் போது நான் அந்த கொஸ்டின் வந்து ஒழுங்கா கவனிக்கல, நான் வந்து பாடன்னு சொல்றேன், இன்னொரு டைம்
கவனிக்கலன்னா புரியலையா? சரியா
புரியல சார், புரியலன்னு சொல்லும் போது நான் பாடம் அவங்க அந்த டைம் வந்து திரும்பி அந்த கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வந்து ஒரு அக்ரெசிவ் மேனர்ல கேட்டாங்கன்னா சொல்லும் போது அந்த டைத்துல நான் எப்படி சார் கேட்கணும்?
நீங்க திருப்பி கேட்கும் போது அந்த எனக்கு புரியல திருப்பி கேளுங்கன்னு கேட்டீங்கன்னா அப்போ பட் அவர் சொன்னதுல ஒரு 50% உங்களுக்கு புரிஞ்சிருக்கலாம் இல்லையா? அதை சொல்லிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் இது என்னன்னு எனக்கு புரியல அப்படின்னு சொன்னீங்கன்னா அவர் கோபப்பட மாட்டார். சரி நான் சொன்னது ஏதோ கேட்டிருக்கான் ஆனா அவனுக்கு ஃபுல்லா புரியல அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு ஆஸ்பெக்ட்ல அவர் திருப்பி சொல்லுங்க. பட் ஃபுல்லா எனக்கு உங்களுக்கு பாதி புரிஞ்சும் புரியலன்னு அப்ரப்டா சொன்னீங்கன்னா கண்டிப்பா கோபப்படுவாங்க. இவ்வளவு கஷ்டப்பட்டு கேட்டிருக்கேன் புரியல. ஏன்னா எல்லாருமே நீங்க சொல்ற மாதிரி எல்லாருமே ஃப்ரெண்ட்லியா இருக்க மாட்டாங்க. சில பேர் அவங்க நேச்சுரலாவே கோபக்காரங்களா இருப்பாங்க, ஷார்ட் டெம்பரா இருப்பாங்க. அப்படி இருக்கும்போது புரிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் சொல்லிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் என்னன்னு புரியல அப்படிங்கறது ஓப்பனா கேட்கணும். இல்லைன்னா நீங்க கொஞ்சம் கிளீனா அப்சர்வ் பண்ணணும் என்ன அப்படிங்கிறது வந்து உங்களோட அப்சர்வேஷன் ஸ்கில்ஸ கீனா பண்ணிக்கலாம். பட் இருந்தும் உங்களுக்கு புரியலங்கிறப்போ முழுசா புரியலன்னா நீங்க புரியலன்னு தான் கேட்டோம் ஃபாலோ பண்ணுங்க. பட் அவர் வந்து கோவப்பட்டாருன்னு நம்ம ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியாது. ஏன்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பேசும்போது சொல்லலாம் சார் தமிழா இருந்தாருன்னா கோச்சுக்காதீங்க சார் புரியல என்னன்னு சொல்லுங்க சார் சாரி அப்படின்னு. இங்கிலீஷா இருந்தா இங்கிலீஷ்ல சொல்லுங்க, புரியலங்கிறத ஓப்பனா சொல்லிடுங்க. புரிஞ்ச மாதிரி காட்டிக்கிட்டு பேசுனது பிரச்சனை. என்ன கேட்கிறாரு இப்போ ஃபர்ஸ்ட் 50% புரியுதுன்னு சொல்றீங்கல்ல, அதுல அவர் சொன்னது வந்து ஒண்ணு நீங்க வேற மாதிரி புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு அதை சொன்னீங்கன்னா நான் அது மாதிரி சொல்றேன் எங்கேயே அப்படி பேசுறேன்ட்டு கோபுரத்துக்கு நான் தெரியும். ஸோ புரிஞ்ச ரொம்ப கான்பிடன்ட் 100% உங்களுக்கு அது தெரியும் அதுதான் சொல்றாரு அப்படின்னு தெரிஞ்சா அது வரைக்கும் எனக்கு புரியுது. அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன புரியல அப்படின்னு நீங்க கேட்டீங்கன்னா சொல்லுவாரு. பட் கோவப்பட்டு திட்டமும் இருந்தா அது நம்ம லக்காரம் தான் பண்ண முடியாது. பட் நல்லா லிசன் பண்ணிட்டு அதுக்கு ஏற்ற மாதிரி.
Thank you for a wonderful session, sir. Thank you for spending your valuable time. Thank you.
வந்ததே வந்து ஒரு மாதிரி பொதுவாக ஹிஸ்டரியில உள்ள எக்ஸ்பர்ட்ஸை கூப்பிட்டு பேசியிருக்கலாம். அது வந்து வேற ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு ரிசர்ச் ஸ்காலர்ஸ் ஆல்ரெடி முடிச்சவங்களை கூப்பிட்டு பேசிக்கலாம். பட் அஸ் ஜேர்னலிஸ்டா இன்வைட் பண்ணதுக்கு ரொம்ப தேங்க்ஸ். இது மாதிரி ஒரு ஷோ வந்து ப்ரீவியஸா நான் நிறைய ப்ரோக்ராம்ஸ் அட்டென்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். பட் இந்த சப்ஜெக்ட்ல வந்து இதான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம். வெரி வெரி இனோவேட்டிவ் அண்ட் யூனிக் வே டு டெல் யுவர் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் how to do the things. So, I appreciate the management for doing that and appreciate the fact.
Thank you. I appreciate you travel and to share the session with you. Thank you, sir.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். இந்த 3 நாள் கருத்தரங்குல இன்னைக்கு நிறைய எல்லாருமே பேசணும் இல்லையா? ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமான ஒரு தருணம். தீபகார்த்தி அவர்கள் கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 6 ஆண்டுகள், குறைந்தபட்சம் 6 ஆண்டுகள் நினைக்கிறேன், 6 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு மேலாக தொடர்புலேயே இருக்கக்கூடியவர். ஒரு நல்ல மக்கள் பணியாளர்னு சொல்லலாம். ஒரு பத்திரிகையாளர் என்பதை விட மக்கள் பணியாளர். அவருடைய ஆர்டிக்கல் நம்ம பார்த்தோம்னா தொடர்ந்து படிச்சுட்டு இருக்கோம். தொடர்ந்து நம்மளை பத்தி கூட நிறைய எழுதியிருக்காரு. நல்ல சிந்தனையாளர். என்னுடைய மாற்றுத்திறனாளிகளுடைய என்னுடைய பிரச்சனை இல்லை, என்னுடைய சமூக பிரச்சனைன்னு நான் சொல்லுவேன். அந்த மாதிரி பிரச்சனைகளை வந்து அவர் பாத்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய வெளிப்படுத்தி இம்பாக்ட் பண்ணிருக்கு. அதுதான் ரொம்ப முக்கியம். அதையும் அவர் பதிவு பண்ணியிருக்காரு. அவருடைய ஆர்டிகல்ஸ் பார்த்தோம்னா இவங்க சொன்னாங்க அவங்க சொன்னாங்களா இருக்காரு. புள்ளி ஸ்டாட்டிஸ்டிக்ஸ் அவர் பேசும்போது கூட கவனிச்சிருப்பீங்க, புள்ளியியல் ரீதியாக இருக்கும். இந்த கமிஷனர் ஆபீஸ்ல பத்தி கடைசி ப்ராஜெக்ட் எல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய புள்ளியியல் போட்டு எழுதியிருப்பாரு. அதே மாதிரி இந்த சிட்டி ப்ராஜெக்ட் இப்ப நடந்துட்டு இருக்குல்ல, இந்த அது என்ன ஸ்மார்ட் சிட்டி ப்ராஜெக்ட், அதெல்லாம் நிறைய இம்பாக்ட் வந்திருக்கு அவருடைய எழுத்துக்கள். அதையும் திரும்பி எழுதிவாரு. நிறைய புள்ளியியல் ரீதியாக அவருடைய சொல்லக்கூடிய எடுத்து வைக்கக்கூடிய அந்த விவாதமா அந்த விஷயங்கள் வந்து இம்பாக்ட், அதாவது ஒரு அரசு அதிகாரிகள் மீண்டும் பார்த்து அதை செயல்படுத்தக்கூடிய விதத்துல இருக்கும் அவருடைய பயணம். அவரை நம்ம வந்து பொதுத்தளத்துல கூட பார்க்க முடியாது. பாத்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய ரூரல் இன்டீரியரா போயிடுவாரு ஆர்டிகல்ஸ் தேடி அவர். ஏன்னா அவருடைய ஆவணங்களை படிக்கிறப்ப தெரியும், படிச்சீங்கன்னா தொடர்ந்து படிக்கிறப்ப தெரியும். அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு நல்ல எழுத்தாளர். தொடர்ந்து அதுவும் இப்ப இளைஞர்கள் கூட நிறைய பயணிச்சுட்டு இருக்காரு. கடந்த 3 ஆண்டுகளா பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஜோசப் கல்லூரி அப்படிலாம் பாக்குறப்போ ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. ஏன்னா அவங்க இருக்கக்கூடிய பிஸி ஷெட்யூல், அவங்க நம்மள மாதிரி அவங்க ஒர்க் பண்ண மாட்டாங்க. டைம்ஸ் ஆஃப் இந்தியா, இந்தியன் எக்ஸ்பிரஸ்லாம், ஏன்னா அந்த மாதிரி தொடர்புகள் நம்ம எழுத்துக்கள்லாம் நம்ம நிறைய எழுதிட்டு இருக்கப்போ அவங்களுடைய நேச்சர் நமக்கு தெரியும். எல்லாமே டைம் ஷெட்யூல்ல இருக்கும். காலைல பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு பிஆர்ஓ ஷெட்யூல்ல இருப்பாங்க. மற்ற பத்திரிகைகளுக்கும் டைம்ஸ் ஆஃப் இந்தியா, இந்தியன் எக்ஸ்பிரஸ், ஹிந்துலாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா டைம் ஷெட்யூல் ரொம்ப கான்சியஸா இருப்பாங்க. அது வகையில இந்த இடத்துல வந்துட்டு அவரை சந்திச்சது ரொம்ப நன்றி தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். அதுவும் ஜமால் காலேஜ் வழியாக நானும் பங்கெடுத்தது நன்றி தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். ரொம்ப நன்றி. உங்களுக்கு மாநில நலன்களுக்கு நிறைய எழுதியிருக்கீங்க, அதற்கு ஒரு தருணத்துல நன்றி தெரிவிச்சுக்கிறேன். நன்றி.
Thank you everybody. Now it's time for technical session 2. We'll have a session now. So technical session 2, case study methods in social science researchers. Now Dr. K. Rajan, Associate Professor, Department of Ancient Indian History, Vishwabharati University, West Bengal. He's a senior faculty with the teaching experience of more than 20 years and an eminent scholar in ancient Indian history. He has many professional affiliations on various academic boards and professional bodies. He has published more than 40 research papers in both national and international forums. He has also acted as research person in various workshops and conferences in international forums. The Department of History feels proud and enlightened to share a session with you, sir. We welcome you.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Am I audible?
Sir, you are audible.
Yeah. So a very good morning, all of you. At first, I express my sincere thanks to organizing committee of the wonderful academic program, particularly the workshop on research methodology. As a student of history, I'm very happy, I'm very thankful to particularly the principal of the Eminence College, very reputed college. I also express my thanks to Dr. Akbar Hussain, the convener of the program, Vignesh Kumar and Mohamed Yashir of the joint secretary, organizing secretary of the seminar, the Mohamed Dajdeen and the faculty members of department for organizing very good academic program for the welfare of the students and the staff members of the history and social sciences. So I'm K. Rajan from Vishwabharati University of Shantiniketan, West Bengal. So I have been working on the history, particularly the ancient history and archaeology from 2007 from here. Why I'm telling the most of my studies of associated with the archaeology department, the most of the studies in the ethno-archaeology and ethno-archaeology, the field study, the case study methods are important. As a student, as a researcher of the history department or archaeology department, we know very well there are different approaches in the field of social science researches. Particularly in the historical field, there are a comprehensive approach, interpretative approach, analytical approach, ethnographic approach, ethno-archaeological approach. Even with these, the broader the interpretations of the history writing or the writing of the social sciences, the case study method is very unique methods in the field of the social science research. There are the case studies method, particularly in the history department in the field of the history. In the case study method, the ethnographic method and ethno-archaeological method is the most important. I mainly would like to focus on the ethnography and ethno-archaeological study, how the ethnographer and archaeologist, they undertake the field study, particularly the case study, the selecting of particular field, how they collect the data, how interpret data on the basis of the selected, the sites or the selected the field for the research work. If you see the source material for studying the sources of the social sciences, we know very well that in all the historical study, we cannot interpret, we cannot study the history without any proper authentic data. The authentic data, there we have the primary data, all the published, unpublished data. That is the traditional way of the collecting the data. But in the case study method and the field study method, whatever we data collect from through the different methods we adopt in collecting the original sources or the first hand, the virgin material of the sources, the case study method is very effective and informative method in the field of the social science researches. The case study method, it is also we can use the field study method. Without selecting a field, without selecting a respondent, we cannot go for any case study method. There in the case study method, particularly in the social sciences, is defined as a qualitative research method of data collections that aims to observe, interact, and understand the culture and the social settings of the people of the past or the people of the present scenario. There, the case study methods aims to understand the relationship between the human culture, the human behavior in a particular environment, geographical environment. The landscape play a vital role in molding of a particular culture of the people. In that way, the case study method is a kind of the methods which aims to observe the people's culture, the people's social settings, the people's behavior from the close observation methods. In the case study method, one of the most important, the plus point may be the positive, the side of the case study methods. We can interact with the respondent. It is a direct method of collecting data from the respondent. In another turn, we can understand their people culture in a particular geographical environment. Particularly the case study research method, which encompasses a different range of social science research, particularly which includes the direct observation, a limited participations, analysis of the document and informations, the informal interviews, and the field survey method. Even within field survey method, we can use the interview method and the questionnaire method to collect the empirical data from the respondent. Even if you ask the question, what is the empirical data? We know the literary sources, literary data or published data, the primary data, the secondary data. The empirical data you cannot find in the form of any written documents. The empirical data in the form of experiences. The empirical data we find in the form of the culture. The empirical data we find in the form of the religious practices, the tradition, indigenous practices. In those, the empirical data will help us to understand the ethnic identity, ethnic culture of the people, which all we collect through the case study and the field study methods. The empirical data we cannot find as the material data. Even if the archaeology field, we collect the data. If we want to understand the tangible, intangible culture of the particular people, the archaeological material which help us to understand the cultural background of particularly the material culture of the particular, the geographical location, or particularly the culture of the particular social groups. In that way, almost all the researchers in the social sciences, particularly, if any researcher apply the case study method, it is considered as the easiest and very effective methods of collecting the empirical data through the field studies. There are many scholars. Even if you particularly talk about the ethnographic study, ethno-archaeological study of the Indian history, or particularly the history of the people, that is the most important, the very effective method in collecting the data. I can point out some of the sociologists or anthropologists, they applied the case study method in their research in understanding the structure and the function of the caste system or the Varna system of the early India based on the looking of the modern scenario. We know very well about the M.N. Srinivas. The M.N. Srinivas, very popular Indian sociologist, the anthropologist also. He studies, mostly he selected some villages of the Kurk region of the Mysore, the Karnataka region. He selected some villages in the Kurk region of the Mysore. That is a kind of the case study method or field study method he adopted. There are many villages are there in the Cook regions. He selected a few particular villages where we find the assimilation of different social groups. In that way, M.N. Srinivas selected some villages. That is called, we can call the case study method. He is a great ethnographer, the sociologist. He selected some villages for his understanding of the caste, the structure and the function of the caste system in the real villages. The most of M.N. Srinivas is a study that he adopted the study, the caste study method. That whatever we study on the basis of the structure, if you see the structural understanding of the caste system and the Varna system, the M.N. Srinivas through the caste study method try to understand how it's functioning in the real villages. He selected some respondent. He visited village to collect the data. He find the different data he collected. He find the variables. On the basis of his hypothetical question, whatever he collected the data, he analyzed and he came up with a proper result that is called how the outcome of the research. He identified that on the basis of the structure, whatever we study in the text, but functionally we don't find the same structure, whatever we study in the text. In functionally, the dominant social groups varies according to the villages to villages. The another prominent scholars, the Louis Dumont. He selected some villages in the Madurai area. He is a scholar from the Western country. He stayed in 1 year in Tamil Nadu. He studied the function of a particular social community. He selected a color community. How within the same social groups, how the social norms, the cultural values, how it constructed within the same social groups, how the system is functioning. Even according to the Louis Dumont and the M.N. Srinivas, the hierarchy of the social system of the early India, the modern India, according to the both of the scholars, they formulated the theories, the social groups of the dominant, they are not similar. According to the structure we study, the Brahmanas are the topmost in the social hierarchy. In the bottom of the social hierarchy, the Sudras are there according to the structure we study. But M.N. Srinivas says, within the Brahmana, we find the inner hierarchies. Brahmanas are not same. The Brahmanas are equally the respected. Within the Brahmana, the higher Brahmanas are there, lower Brahmanas are there. Even within Sudras, he identified some of the Sudras as considered as the upper Sudras, middle class Sudras, and lower class Sudras. These all the result of the research work. They came up with the structuralism and functionalism in their research. All these, the outcome of the theoretical framework of the structural and the functional idea of the scholars through the case study method only. In the case study method, the direct observation method is important. Why the case study and field study methods are important? Why we undertake the field study and case study methods in social science researchers? Wherever we don't find any written documents. For example, if you want to study about the ethnic culture of the people, particularly the tribal society, maybe their marriage practices, their religious traditions, their indigenous practices, whatever they have, the medicinal practices, whatever they have, the traditional practices, you don't get any written documents. Wherever you don't find the written evidences about the ethnic identity of the particular people, there the field study, case study methods, which help us to collect the data, collect their experiences, collect their indigenous tradition. These, both the tradition, the case study and field study method are considered as the most suitable or effective method in collecting the empirical data to understand the ethnic culture of the people of the indigenous society. There, the researcher can involve in the different methods within the case study, the field study method. For example, the direct observations. If you want to understand the religious practices of the particular, the social, ethnic social groups, there you have to observe. Even in the observation also, we have to make proper notes. The notes we can develop later as the research format. What kind of the cultural activities they are performing, that as a researchers, as a data collector, we have to observe very minutely what the cultural practices they have, what the religious practices they have, the indigenous community. The observation method in the case study method is more effective. Even the observation also is not the insider point of view. They are only observer. They are not they don't involve in their functions, the religions. But the participation method is more effective method within the case study method, within the field study method. The participation method, what is the participation method? You can participate, you can stay with a particular village, whatever that you selected for collecting the data from the field survey or the case study method. You have to stay with them, you have to mingle with them, you have to participate their socio and cultural functions there. If you can very closely observe, you can, through participation of their functions, that more effective, more informative methods in collecting the empirical data. So in that way, the participation and the observation method is more effective method in collecting the empirical data from the survey. But the case study method and field study method, even so, is considered as the qualitative research. It's also part of the quantitative study. Most of the quantitative study, for example, in economics department, in anthropology, in sociology, if they collect the numerical data, even if you try to understand what is the qualitative and quantitative research in social sciences, the quantitative methods is still with the numerical value. The qualitative research, we have to find the causes and the consequence of the responses, whatever for example, if you want to study about the poorness of the people, maybe the backwardness of the particular social groups. If you find their numerical data, if you have to understand the variable, how to find the variables from the collecting the data from the different respondent. In another, the respondent is most important in the field study method. How we select the appropriate, proper respondent. Even if you visit a village in the case study, if you select a village for your case study, there you find the 20,000 people. You cannot approach all the people. It's not easy task to collect the data from all 20,000 people. You have to select the respondent, maybe the community wise. The respondent should be if you want to study about the ethnic, maybe the practices of the particular community. For example, the medicinal practices of the tribal community. You have to identify the proper respondent to collect data from the respondent. These all a kind of the methods, whatever we find, the observation and participation method, we collect the data. It is a kind of whatever we analyze the data after the collecting the empirical data from there, that is kind a insider point of view. You are become the part of their culture. If you participate in their function, you are become the part of their culture. In that way, it is the most important methods, that is the participation observation method. In this method, the researcher is deeply involved in the research process. You can make the arrange for the involvement of the respondent also. You are also involving with them. You can make them to involve with your research activity. Is a kind of the two process way of the collecting the data. The respondent give more data than if you minutely, if you observe, if you participate in their functions. The participation just is a kind of not just an observer, but you are a keen participant also. The keen participant is a close observant you are. They'll give more data. They'll give more information. The whatever you collect the data from the case study and the field study method in the field of social sciences, it is considered as the first hand, the pure or virgin source material. You are collecting the first time. As a researchers, whatever you get the data from the field study and other kind of the methods, you are become the first person to record the practices. That is considered as the purely the primary source material. This method also conducted in the natural environment, but only difference in the researcher get involved in the discussions. They are the mostly, they have to stay in the natural environment. There is no proper the arrangements of the, maybe the artificial arrangement, maybe you cannot create a separate, you cannot fix a time. So whenever if you stay with the particular village for your case study method, you can interact with the people anytime. The informal discussion, informal interview, the informal, the questionnaire method you can prepare according to the needs of the research outcome. You can formulate the hypothetical questions. On the basis of the hypothetical question, whatever you formulate in your research work, that will be a more effective method in collecting the data. The why the hypothesis question is important. The hypothesis is a kind of a temporary assumption or conclusion for your research. If you frame a proper hypothetical question, your research will be almost the successful. Whether you prove your hypothesis or disprove your hypothesis, that is different matter. The effective hypothesis question which guide you a proper direction, which lead you in proper direction to collect appropriate data from the field or the case study method. There, in the case study method and field study method, the ethnography is the important. The ethnography is on expanded observation of social researcher and social perspective and cultural values of an entire social setting. That is ethnographical study. We can select the entire communities and we can observe very objectively what kind of the observation we adopt. For examples, if a researcher would like to understand how the indigenous tribes live their lives and operate their cultures, and how their indigenous traditional practices still they are carrying as their, what they call the washing their indigenous knowledge from generation to generation, how they carry. In that way, it is the researcher, if you like to understand their ethnic culture, ethnic traditions, the researcher may choose the observation and participation method to collect the data from the people. It is more the important data which we can collect from the respondent. Even the case study method, ethnography is the most important component. Those who collect the ethnographic data in social sciences, they are considered as the ethnographer. The ethnographer, even if you see the word ethnography, is a combination of the two words, ethno and graphy. It is a kind of the writing. Graphy is writing, a kind of the writing about the people and their cultures, which means the writing about the ethnic culture of the people. It is a kind of the scientific research. In the case study method and the field study method, ethnography writing is a scientific research very often used in the field of social sciences, particularly in anthropology and sociological research. The anthropology and sociology are both the subject are very closely associated with the culture and the history of the people. Even in the historical field, even in the modern days, the recent trends in the historical writing, the most of the modern scholars, they adopt ethnographic and ethno-archaeological methods. Both the methods are considered as a scientific method, which mostly adopted in the in the study of the social sciences. The ethnography is also the part of historical studies that studies about the people. It studies about the ethnic social groups and their ethnic formations, their ethnogenesis origin, the composition, their settlement patterns, the social welfare, and their material and spiritual culture. That is the main important in ethnographical study. The material culture we can easily understand. Whatever the material we get it from that particular settlement, a particular site, a particular field, whatever the material we find, that is called tangible culture. Whatever material we find in a particular settlements or archaeological sites or any field, if we select the case study, whatever we understand the culture of a particular environment or particular settlement, all we can consider as the material culture. We get the material form. But spiritual culture is very difficult to understand. The spiritual culture, if we want to study about the spiritual culture of the people, the most important, the effective method or appropriate method in collecting the data, that is called the field study and case study method. In that method, there are many, the ethnographer, particularly the Western scholar, they studied the Indian indigenous community by using of the case study methods in understanding the culture. It is a kind of the field study method. It is often used for gathering the empirical data on human society and culture. In ethnographic study, data collection is also has done through the whatever we adopt the case study methods, the participation of their social functions, the participant observation, the interviews method, the questionnaire methods. Even we can take the short interview, we can record their whatever the statement, whatever the information they'll give, you can record or audio video record. That will be a most important the sources for study the ethnography in the case study method. So the ethnography aims to describe the nature of the people through their writings. That whatever they have the traditions. In the methodology of the social sciences, the ethnography is also called as the field study or case study method. As I told you, very recent, not very recent, 1970s, 80s, in the field of the archaeology particularly, now the researchers started studying the ethnic culture of the people through archaeological materials. That is called the ethnoarchaeology. It is also considered as the living archaeology. Many of the historians, many archaeologists, they use the synonyms word for ethnoarchaeology as the living archaeology. The living archaeology is a kind of the understanding of the past culture through looking of the present material remains. Even if you read the Romila Thapar, professor, very eminent scholar in the field of history and historical study, Romila Thapar writings more relevant to the modern period. Whatever she writes, she has written many important works on the understanding the past culture through looking of the present socio and cultural aspects. She has published two important books, that is the past before us. The past before us. There is a kind of studying the past through the present scenario. Then past as present. Very recently, she published a book called Our History, Their History, Whose History. Very excellent writing. It's a kind of the discussions. How the scholar Romila Thapar is understand the past scenario, past culture from the present scenario, whatever we see in the present modern days. She's discussed with the looking of the early, the socio and the state formation of the early medieval India, the early India. That again, I am coming to the field study method. As I told you, the field study method is considered as the most effective method. It is also, the ethnography also is called as the field study and the case study method. Both field study and case study method are used a common synonyms for the ethnography. So the ethnographic study the a different human culture in their particular geographical settings. The landscape play vital role. Why I'm telling the landscape is important. So again, we have to go back to the Sangam age. Even if you see the Sangam culture, the Sangam society, the Sangam polity, their landscape is play vital role. According to the landscape, we find the cultural variations. We find the social differences. Most of the early, particularly Tolkapian, talk about the Thinai concept. We know the Thinai, the 5 Thinais, 9 Thinais. I'm not going to give the details of the Thinais. Even all the Thinais, the 5 Thinais, if you see the differences of the cultural pattern and the social settings, even we can find the the behavior of the particular landscape, it varies according to their geographical locations. Even it's talk about the emotion of the people. The emotions of the particular geographical location, it varies. Even if you see the Kurinji culture or the Marudam Thine culture, the Palai Thine culture, there we find the differences of the different socio-cultural practices. The Kurinji people worship different gods, goddesses. A Mullai and Palai Marudam region, they worship different gods and goddesses. They have a different practices. They have their different cultures. In that way, the ethnographic study deals with the study of the different human culture in the particular cultural settings. This method has adopted in India in the early, almost in 1970s. A non-Western, it's a Western scholar that studied the non-Western culture. Almost all the ethnographer, there are many scholars, they studied extensively about the caste system. You know very well that Edgar Thurston, Caste and Tribes of the South India. These, the very important works he collected through the field study, the caste study method. He visited all the villages, even responded, he collected the many data from the people, whatever, even if you see any caste, you can find the origin of the caste, maybe the mythological origin, whatever the myth they had in early India to the origin of the particular, the social setting, all the Edgar Thurston and the J.H. Cutton, all the Western scholars, they studied very extensively about the Indian culture, Indian society through the caste study method. In the caste study method, one of the common method for collecting the ethnographic data in the caste study method is very direct. It's a very first-hand observation of the daily participation. Another common method is the interview method in the case study, which is the popular method in ethnographic study also. Traditionally, the ethnographers, the focus is the attention of a particular community, the selecting informant who know well about the activities of the community. Even if you want to study about the medicinal practices of the Palia tribes or Toda tribes, you have to find the very experienced persons. They know about their culture. They know about their indigenous practices. So identifying the proper, the respondent, that is also the important, the responsibility of the researchers while collecting the data through the case study method. There are some standard method of collection, the case study method, which is already I told you very briefly about the different methods. The main aim of the ethnographic study, what is called the ethnographic study? As briefly I told about the ethnographer of Eamon Srinivas and the Louis Duman. The main objectives of the ethnographic studies to introduce the different ethnographic research methods and approaches. Another objective is to allow the researchers to appreciate the different ethnographic method used in understanding a different culture, their beliefs and practices. To understand the community life, the different methods. Even in the case study method, even if you want, even the modern period also in the history particularly, if you want to study about the temple architecture of the particular dynasty of particular regions, you can select some or Saiva temple or Vaishnava temple or the minor gods and goddesses Only you can find the only, you can study the linga culture, that of the kind of the case study. The case study method is a very micro level, the research understanding. Even there are a broader area, a vast area, you have to select some area or the some respondent to collect the data in the when we study about the culture of the people. So in that way, that is the kind of the collecting the historical sources through the ethnographic study. How we collect the data. In the field study method, particularly the ethnographic method of collecting the data, there, the collecting the historical sources through the ethnographic study will study the life history of the particular social groups, the life history of the people. There, the historian or social scientist, we have to be very careful when we write about the particular social groups. The researcher must more objective than the subjective. In almost all the study, whether it is a historical study or the any kind of the social sciences researchers, the researcher should be more objectivity. They have to follow more objectivity rather than the subjectivity. Unbiased writing. The biased writing always, we cannot understand the real history of the particular social group or particular culture. The researcher, if are unbiased, if they follow the more objectivity in the historical researcher and social sciences researchers, we can bring a real research in the field of the social sciences. The ethnography is the main data collection method in cultural and social anthropology. It is considered as the purest form. It is the form the ethnographer assume the role of the participant and observation. They are the participant, they are the observer. Through the participant and observation method, the ethnographer, they can collect a proper, whatever the data they need for their understanding of their ethnic culture. That is the most important a component in the study of the case study method and the field study method. In that way, it is a kind of, we can discuss more, but I am taking much time, I think, of that. We'll discuss more, we can, we get more, what you call the enlightened, we get more clarification when we discuss more in discussions. So in that way, it is a kind of, even if you study about the field study and the case study method as the researcher and scholar, we should keep in mind, we have to be very careful when collecting the data from the people. It's a kind of the empirical data. It's a kind of the qualitative method of data collection. It's mostly a kind of the observation we can find in this method. We can find, we can bring out, we can understand the real culture and the real social settings of the people of the particular regions. As I told you, if you read the M.N. Srinivas writing, has written many works on the marriage and the family in Mysore, India's villages, the caste in modern India, social change in modern India. Those the ethnographer, they on the basis of their case study method, they came up with the important the theories of the structuralism and functionalism. Both M.N. Srinivas and Louis Drummond adopted in their writing, in their historical or anthropological research, they adopted the structural and functional approach in understanding of the people culture, the people's society, and their social formation on the basis of the structural, whatever we find in the structure, how the really it function. That is called the structurally, whatever we study. If you carry the same idea in your mind, in the reality, in the functional level, you don't find the same things. After is the even M.N. Srinivas, after long study on the caste system, he came up with the terms, the dominant caste, the westernization, the secularization, and Sanskrit influence. There we find in the modern days, the more Sanskritization we find, more even we find the westernization in our culture. The westernization in our culture, how we identify, we are more westernized, we are more Sanskritized. Through field study method only we can understand how we are changing, or maybe knowingly, unknowingly, our culture, our tradition, all the practices, indigenous practices, slowly it's changing within ourselves. We cannot understand the changes. Through the case study, field study method, if you take it very seriously, we are almost all the social groups of the modern Indian villages, we changed a lot. The original, maybe the indigenous identity, all the social group we lost already. We are more westernized modern days. We are more Sanskritized. Even if you see the worship pattern also. Almost all the villages, they have the village gods and goddesses. Every family we have here, the Kuladevta concept. Even that way it is, we have a different concept. But we nowadays more familiar with the worshipping of what they call the big traditions. We are not doing of we are not following of the small tradition. That is our original or indigenous traditions. That we should respect the indigenous culture. We should follow our indigenous tradition, indigenous cultural practices, indigenous social settings. That way, whenever, whatever we want to understand about the ethnic and indigenous culture, the case study and the field study method is a very effective, appropriate method in collecting the data from the people, from the respondent, from with the way of the participation, observation, interview, and questionnaire methods. Those are the important methods in the field of ethnography, ethnoarchaeology, or in the field of social science, anthropology, even modern historical field. These the case study and the effective method. But many people nowadays don't do seriously research. Just they visit library, they'll collect books, they read books, they write, but very less researcher, they visit the field. Very less researchers, they go for the case study, they adopt their case study and field study method. That is more informative. That is the most important, the common method in collecting the ethnographic data from the respondent. As a researcher, we have to keep in mind the effective research. The effective research, the more specific or the micro level research, that the case study and field study method, which help us to understand the real culture, real scenario, or in the particular social setting. That the researcher has to come up with the new idea, the new study to adopt the very effective method in collecting the empirical data from field, from the people, to understand the ethnic culture of the people. So with this, I'm stopping here. We'll discuss if you have any questions. I don't think I have many things. I cannot cover everything of the, it's a very vast area of the ethnography or the field study methods. It's a very vast area, very difficult to understand, adopt the method, but is the one of the easiest and the finest method in collecting the data. So thank you once again, all the organizer and the participants, particularly the college, the history department, respected teacher. I'm very much thankful to you. Thank you, all of you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, thank you, sir.
ஐயா வணக்கம். அதாவது இந்த எத்னோகிராஃபி பத்தி நீங்க இந்த கொஸ்டினர்ல வந்து குவாலிட்டேட்டிவ் குவான்டிடேட்டிவ் ரிசர்ச் வந்து எத்னோகிராஃபிக்கும் நீங்க எத்னோகிராஃபி ரிசர்ச்சுக்கும் இந்த குவாலிட்டேட்டிவ் அனாலிசிஸ்க்கும் குவான்டிடேட்டிவ் அனாலிசிஸ்க்கும் ஏதாவது வேறுபாடு இருக்காங்க எத்னோகிராஃபி ரிசர்ச் அதுல எனக்கு சின்ன
when you talk about the qualitative and quantitative research, I think almost all the researches we can bring within the two broader divisions, the qualitative and the quantitative research. Almost if you find if you try to find the numerical value, for example, if you want to study about the income of the particular villages, the family wise. So if you find the income, maybe the 5,000 monthly or the 2,000 monthly income of the whole family, these all the quantitative kind of the thing we deals with the numerical value. So if you try to find the causes for their backwardness, why they are getting the more, if you try to find what are the social background, economic causes for their backwardness, what their cultural background of the low income pattern. So if you try to understand the causes for their backwardness, that is called, we find to find the reasons for their poorness, that's all called kind of the quantitative research. Almost all our, even ethnography is a kind of the qualitative approach. In ethnographic, if you study about the cultural practices of maybe the indigenous practices of a particular social groups, they are kind of the field study method you adopt through collecting the ethnographic data. There, a kind of the qualitative research only. Most of the even I think that is the qualitative research in ethnographical study.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Can you hear my voice, sir?
Yes, yes.
I am Dr. Bhavani from Tamil University, Department of Epigraphy and Archaeology.
Yes, yes, madam. Yes.
Your lecture is so useful for me.
Yeah.
Because just I proposed to write an article, just I collected the data from inscriptions, sir. So my professor and my seniors are giving me alert. You don't write on class studies. Just you don't go to that. So what should I, like Romila Thapar ma'am said, just we are doing research the past events in the present. So it is very sensitive also. Like you said, if you are going going for interview and ethnographical studies or whatever maybe hypothesis, just we have to go to the village. They are facing us in the past stages. If the foreigners are easily take the data from our village people, but today if you are knowing, if you are going to the place, they are very alert. If you are writing among the caste higher, they allow to us. But if you are the caste studies are more sensitive also, sir. What should we do? Just I try to write an article. Just I collected the data from the inscriptions.
Inscription.
But
You want to cooperate, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Just as you told, I wish to go to the village and I wish to collect the data from them. But there is no cooperation. That so many people are. They induce them to not to answer. You don't they answer. They
that is true. Yeah.
What should we do, sir?
Now, in the field study, the case study method is that is all the practical problem of collecting the data.
Yes, sir.
But as a historian, we have to more unbiased of that. So most of the,
Yes.
even if you see the historical writing of the early India, particularly, it's talk about only the history of a few social groups. You don't find
Yes.
the history of the common. You don't find the history of the marginalized. You don't find the history of the subordinate, those who are considered as the secondary important of the social section. Almost all the historical writing of the early India, it's talk about, is speak about only the privileged class only. That is the we have in the modern, maybe the modern period. If you want to study about a particular caste, it's very difficult to collect the data until
sir.
they believe you, until they accept you. They don't provide any data. Maybe they don't give interview, don't give, even if you prepare a questionnaire
Yes,
method,
sir.
even if you adopt in the field study. So that way, as a researchers, that is the practical, the issues the researcher are facing. Even if you want to study
If you're
about the,
writing an article
yeah.
also, they are not accept, sir.
No,
They will reject
that's
that
the,
article to publish also.
that's the way you have to manage as a researcher. Yeah, that's the issues are there. But then
Yes, sir.
in those days, even if you the foreigner visit, they're ready to give all the data. But the Indian visit not. If they find you are from the different caste, so they think
Yes,
you are maybe you may misinterpret, you may bias in their your writing. They
in
refuse
Thurston
to
book
give data.
also, just you got at the Thurston books, Claims and
Yeah,
Crimes.
Edgar
In
Thurston.
this book also, there's so many biases there, sir.
Now,
If you are
biases
compared,
are there.
yes, yes,
Almost all the early historical writing,
yes,
we'll find more bias rather than the what you
yes.
call the objectivity of that.
Because that
More
data are
bias
given by
writing.
this particular caste people.
Yeah, particular community
Yes,
one.
sir. Yes,
That is
yes,
true. Even if you study the early history of India or early
yes,
medieval history of India, almost all the historical books talk about the a kind of the biographical study of the people, those who ruled, those who achieved in their field. They don't talk about the less important people. So
the
talk
present
about
day they are
only the
considered.
privileged section.
Yes, sir. Present
Even
day
if
they
you
are
study,
considered as a lower caste, but they are privileged,
no,
have some privilege in
earlier,
the
even if you talk
ancient
about
days.
the early inscriptional evidences,
Yes,
the
sir.
early historical background of that, whatever we call them as the marginalized community, the nowadays, they were the very influential communities
Yes,
those days.
yes.
Even my study, my research on grey stick slavery in medieval Tamil society, then one PhD. But mostly, if you see those people, those who still follow the agrarian activity
Same.
as a lifestyle, they are mostly the indigenous community. They are the original sons of the soil.
Yes.
But those who ruled India, those who consider as the higher caste, they are not indigenous as origin. They are
Yes, sir.
origin from the
As you
other.
said at the beginning of your lecture, even in a Brahmin community, they are prepare some hierarchy. Like this,
Even if you see
yes,
within
yes,
Brahmanas, the Brahmanas are not same.
yes.
The
There
Brahmanas,
were
those who
some,
involve in the ritual performances, the Brahmanas, those who involve the death ritual, they are not same.
yes, sir.
They don't go for any marriage relation, social relation with them. That kind of the social, it's very difficult to understand how the caste system function, how the Varna functions in
Yes, sir.
India. It's very difficult. But even
Like
though,
you said, sir, in Sangam age there are so many Kurunji Mulai Naida Mardal. In Kurunji also there is only for Naida people, there are not only fishermen are living there. So many people are living the same geological settings. So
yeah,
how should we take the caste studies? I have a complication and I have a
yeah. Thank you. I think another lecture is waiting. I think another resource person is waiting.
We have some time constraints due to that we couldn't have this as an elaborate question and answer sessions. Sorry for the inconvenience, sir.
Yes, please.
This note, we'd like to wind up the session. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks for your valuable.
Oh, thank you all. Yeah.
The Department of History feels very proud and enlightened sharing this session with you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I can leave now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, all of you. Yeah. Thank you.
Now it's time for technical session 3, Sri Lanka and India, a historical perspective. Professor Dr. K.M. Rohita Dasanayaka, Head, Department of History, Faculty of Arts, University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka, will preside over the session. He is an eminent professor and a great intellect. He has many professional affiliation on various academic board and professional bodies. He has published more than 50 research papers in both national and international forums. He also acted as a resource person in several workshops and conferences. The Department of History feels very proud and privileged to share the session with you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to all of you. I would like to firstly congratulate the Postgraduate and Research Department of History of Jamal Mohamed College for organizing this 5 days workshop on research methodology, tools and techniques of thesis writing. Actually, which is a historical learning experience for all of us, including researchers. Let me express my thanks to Dr. S.I.A. Mohamed Nasir and the organizing committee for inviting me as a resource person for this workshop. I'm very proud to be a part of this workshop. Conducted at the Department of History, was one of the founding department of Jamal Mohamed College, which has been established in 1951. The Jamal Mohamed College is very special to me, as in 1967, this Department of History had been affiliated to the University of Madras, where I studied and I was awarded with my PhD under the guidance of Professor and Head G.G. Venkataraman in 2008. Hereby, I wholeheartedly wish all the success to the Department of History of this university. As far as I know that the Bharatidasan University had approved MA History postgraduate courses on June 6, 2005. A research course MPhil, which was introduced in 2007 and 2016 to 17. PhD program of the Jamal Mohamed College. The Department of History provides an environment in which all who study here can thrive and achieve their potential and do the best to the society. The student of the Department of History can also study history of Tamil Nadu, Indian history, European history, American history, history of Arabs and the international relations in elaborated manner, and integrate progress of this college. I would say that I would be extremely happy about your vision. So I have gone through it to promote quality education, history, and inculcate source of political responsibilities through the combination of the better curriculum, teaching and learning process. Actually, I was really impressed by that, the vision. I wish that all the participants, including all the resource personnel, would be benefited with this experience of the 5-day workshop that's commenced today. So actually, I prepared with this my research topic within very short period. This is actually trade and intercultural relations between South India and Sri Lanka. This is my university. This is in front of my department. This is in front of my department. This is arts faculty. This is the biggest tree in front of my department. So this is my research topic, trade and intercultural relationship between South India and Sri Lanka. Actually, Sri Lanka's relations with India, which go back to prehistoric time, is a subject which has evolved interest among the historians of South Asia, being a field in which fresh historical evidence has surfaced from time to time and new interpretations are made rapidly on the subject. Most of the scholars have overestimated the extent of Indian influence by dividing the entire period of Sri Lankan history into Northern Indian period and South Indian period. It is also to be noted that they emphasize North Indian period, restricting to cultural relation, especially with the Buddhism. The South Indian period was bound with the political interactions. Other significance is, as we all know, the Indian connection has become an important element in the current debate regarding the geographical origin of the two main ethnic groups in Sri Lanka, the Sinhalese and Tamils. The former claiming North Indian affiliations and the later South Indian. This division is further marked by the religious differences, the Sinhalese being the large Buddhist and the Tamils being Hindus. However, we have to keep in mind that these both groups have the single perceptions that they need to look to India for their origins. My attention is on the trade and intercultural relations between South India and Sri Lanka. Evaluating the partial views made on the basis of the phenomenon of the trade and cultural ties with the South India on the details of Sri Lankan historiography. And Sri Lanka and being the center of the sea route and connecting China and the southeastern countries with the Middle East and the Mediterranean countries, seafarers and could have arrived there from the earliest times. Excavation at Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu revealed that the inhabitants of the Sri Lanka in the pre-Christian area gave a warm to welcome to the foreign merchant visiting their shores. It may be inferred from their active that trade instincts dominated them than agricultural pursuits. Sri Lanka played host to small scale navigators. As a result, technological and cultural interactions would have developed. That is shown by the microlithic tools findings during the excavation of the Thesis site of Tamil Nadu and Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka. Since the later half of the first century BC, and Sri Lankan coastal region was known to have had contact with far-off places like the Persian Gulf in Gujarat and Indonesian coast. Since the early historic times, and traders, immigrants, and the religious preachers seem to have sailed in the Indian Ocean in a large number of the ships. Those ships range from the small canals to large ships carrying the thousands of the men on to the very advanced ships building techniques. No wonder native of the Sri Lankan too followed them as they had the sea right rounds. Seafaring activities of the earlier period began in the Indian subcontinent along with the western coastal region. In early days of the history, to had been a very important route of seafaring during the proto-historic period. The men used to travel up and down using known sea routes and shipping techniques in this region. This made them rich, and they could build small scale canal systems and the cultural monument interact International trade flourished using the monetary system. The use of the Brahmi letters and shows their importance during that period as they were widely used. Many ancient coins and seals with the early Brahmi script have been found recently from the rural region of Sri Lanka. Most probably Tamil Nadu in South India may have introduced the Brahmi letters through the cultural context cultivated during the course of their trade with Sri Lanka. As expected, there were many instances of crossing past history during the very early period. For that purpose, Indian ports like the Kaveri Pattana and the Kandakasola Pattana, and the Sri Lankan ports such as Jambukola Pattana and Mahatita and Gokarna were used as a connecting harbors. This would have been the background of the eastern and the western coastal trade in the Indian subcontinent. Besides the stories found in ancient chronicle inscription of Duvegal in Polonnaru district, Paramakanda in Puttalam district, and Maligathan in Kurunagala district gave us the idea of the Sri Lankan navigational activities. On a secretary of the Taipania and command of the Alexander Speed was the first Greek to write about the Taproban of Sri Lanka, and he certainly had access to information from the Indians who were in contact with the navigators sailing in Sri Lanka. Further, it was stated that 20 days of seafaring from India one could reach the Sri Lanka. Strabo confirmed this, drawing his information on the earliest record on his letters. It could be true that only when traveling from North India to Sri Lanka, but it did not take so much time to travel from South India before he established relations with the northern India and Sri Lanka had close relation with South India. Ilubartha Sumana, the trade from Tamil Nadu, recording an inscription found in Sri Lanka, confirmed the close relationship the island had with Tamil Nadu, and Tamil referred to Sri Lanka traders visited in Tamil Nadu as Illiberan. This status of the close connection is confirmed by the inscription found in Kodamanal in Tamil Nadu and Ridiyagam in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan Tamil interaction in much more explicitly illustrated by the number of the such donatives recorded in Sri Lanka, where the Tamil merchant and people of the Vela clan and mentioned in the context of the gift of the Buddhist. According to some symbol found on the inscription, the identity of the contemporary traders or merchant guilds who perform an agent and played important role of these relations is revealed. The names of the officers concerned with the trade are recorded of those Brahmi inscriptions. According to the Kadrugavi inscription, Ati Adeka, that as an officer in charge in elephant. In the inscription at the Peria Puliankulam, Asa Adeka is used to the designate of officer in charge of the horses in the stable. Most expensive horses were imported to Sri Lanka. They were in high demand, and sheds with servants were assigned to keep those animals in stables. The Tamil merchant who brought the horses for the sale in Sri Lanka are mentioned in the Mahavansa too. The Brahmi inscription revealed that the Sri Lankan merchant purchased valuable commodities in addition to the horses. There are some of South Indian literary sources such as Ilapadikar and Manimekali and Pattinapale, and the archaeological and the numismatic resources like coins and stone inscriptions. They help to understand the trading activities that took place between Sri Lanka and India from the historical period. Based on the evidence, there were some of South Indian ports such as Musiri and Tondi and Pokai and Puhar that became famous for trading activities, and Sri Lankan ports such as Jambukola and Mahatita became the center for the trade activities from the ancient time. The ancient seals, coins discovered from these areas provide much evidence in the regard. Moreover, the Sangam literature sources of Pattinapale also presents the information regarding the trade activities between these two regions. According to this source, the trade commodities such as perfumes and other different commodities were taken to Pohar of South India from Ilam. It is confirmed through the line of verse of this book and Iluthuran Kalat Kum. That is somewhat difficult to pronounce that word. And here that the commodity is taken from the Elam were the donators as Ilatunua, and the commodities taken from the Southeast Asian countries were donated as a Kalakatakam. According to the Pattinapalli, trade relations existed between South India and Sri Lanka from the historic period. In this trade activity, the influence of the Tamil Nadu was considerably more powerful than the influence of Sri Lanka. Therefore, the traders of Tamil Nadu collected commodities from Sri Lanka and South Asian countries from the engage in the external trade activities with the foreigners through their ports. The close connection that had existed among the merchant communities and Buddhist communities of Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu is attested by the Manimekale, which could be ascribed to the 6th century AD. The flourishing conditions of the monasteries and Kaveri Pattanan and Kanchipuram could be seen in the Manimekale and the Siddhapadikaram. Out of the two, and Manimekale would have been written between the 6th to 9th centuries, and it is important for evidence in the cultural interaction between India and Sri Lanka. As Padmanathan has drawn our attention to the details of these close connections. Sri Lanka is referred to as the Ilang Prativakam. It is also refers to part of the islands. Nakantu and Irattina, Vikakam, and corresponding the respective to the northmost and the central and the south part of the island. The island of the Manipalavan, located between Nakarnathi and the Tamilkam, is represented as a sacred site because of the existence of a Buddha image, which is believed to have had miracle powers. According to this text, Sravakas and other devotees from Tamilkam and Chavakam and the Elam assemble there and experience and the removal of the obstacle against the goal of the enlightenment. The Manimekala is a product of the tradition of the learning cultivated in the leading monastic countries of the Tamil. It is essentially the works and expounding doctrines and the propagating the value of the Buddhism. In this work and renunciations, becomes the highest goal of human life and the noble path toward relief from the sorrow and the suffering, and that these are the caused by the deeds committed by the individuals in the previous birth in a recurrent theme. The triple gems, the Buddha and Dharma and the Sangha, are described in the several places in the text with the deep veneration. The Manimekale does not seem to have been written with the view to promoting the claims of any particular sect of the Buddhism or superiority over others. It is essentially synthetic in character and emphasizes in uniformity of the fundamentals of the Buddhist teaching and the practice. Further, Buddhism and depicted in the Manimekale is a tradition and confined that the urban setting and presumably to the merchant community. The tradition which were developed in the narrative proportions by a Chattanar seem to have the mercantile connection, and the metaphors and similarities found in the text suggested a background of the associated with the mercantile activity. The main event of the story are associated with the three principal town and Kaveri, Pattan, Kanchi, and Venchi. The illusion of the presence of the Chanara and wandering monks from the Iratta Tivakam and at Venchi is significant. It suggests that the Sri Lankan monks were found in Tamil Nadu in some capacity. And this tradition is confirmed by Thinchan, who says there were around 300 Sri Lankan monks at the monastery at the southern sector of Kanchipuram. The account of the Pattinitevayam as found in the Manimekale is of the special relevance in the comprehending an aspect of the complex of the multifaceted connection in Sri Lankan Buddhism had with the tradition in South India. The Pattini cult had become very popular in medieval Sri Lanka Buddhism, assimilated, and Pattini was a renowned as one of the 4 guardian deities in Sri Lanka. And the Professor Padmanathan has done very empirical research on this particular subject. In the cult of the Patini had its origin and early development in South Indian Buddhism is clearly attested by the Manipali. Patini had already become a Buddhist deity in South India when the poem was written. Beside the account of the Buddha image at the Manipal found in the poem and the Crucifix and closest familiarity with the tales and the pertaining to the visit of the Buddha to the island as recorded in the Pali Chronicles, such as a situation suggests that the tradition relating to the early history of the Buddhism as found in the island had been transmitted to the Buddhist monasteries in Tamil Nadu through processes and mutual interactions. But the Chinese pilgrim Hunsen was quite important for the recording of contact with the South Indian Sri Lankan Buddhists in his Suki. He described the popularity of the Buddhism in Kanchi and in the mid-17th century. See, it is evidence that the Kanchi Purana rose important politically and culturally during the Pallava period and maintained close contact with the Sri Lanka. One of the other important centers of the Buddhism was Nagapattanam, as a center of the commerce on the east coast, which attracted the merchants, scholars, and pilgrims from the many regions. A Buddhist temple is said to have been erected here for the benefit of the Chinese Buddhists at the instance of the Chinese king during the rule of the Pallava king Narasimhavarman. According to the Chulavansa, the Sri Lankan king Manavamma, being arrested by the king Datapatissa and fled into South India and sought help to the Pallava king King Narasimhavarman. While in South India, the Manavamma helped the Pallava king in his political wars. As a mark of this friendship, the Pallava assisted the Manavamma to gain the throne of Sri Lanka, a fact that is revealed in the Kasupudi inscriptions. The fact that the Manavamma was helped by them to the region, his kingdom, suggested that the Pallava had extended the political influence to this island. Besides the political relations, the influence of the Pallava architecture is seen in the Gediga in Nalanda and the certain of the Isrumunia temple at the Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka. There are other important indications of the Pallava connection with Sri Lanka. Pallava influence could be identified through the literary works such as Janaki Harana and composed by the Sri Lankan poet and Kumaradasa, who followed the literary style of the writer of the Dandin, who live in the Pallava kingdom. Relations between the two countries are shown by the presence of the Mahayana Buddhism in the country. Inscription of the Kuchaveli and Tirya at Mihitale and the copper plates of discovered from the Idikatusaya are instances of the which throw light on the great influence of the Pallava Grantha script. One of the other important centers of Buddhism was the Nagapattanam as a center of the commerce of the East Coast, which attracted the merchants, scholars, and pilgrims from the many regions. It was devoted in the multifaceted establishment under the patronage of the Chola king and the merchant communities under the imperial Cholas. Kaveri Pattanam port is other important centers of Buddhism in the Coromandel coast, which had close contact with the Sri Lankan Buddhist community. By the 10th century, the northern part of the Indian Ocean became a very active area of seafaring, especially area about the Bay of Bengal. In the Bay of Bengal, lying geographically at the northern direction of the vast Indian Ocean, played a significant role as a transit point and the meeting ground for the long-distance maritime trade, which had been linking the shores of the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf with India and Sri Lanka. The name of the Bengal was the first coins and used by the Arab traders who called Bahar Hakal, and they mean by the name of the eastern coast of the India alone. The first attempt at the naming this vast ocean after the India was made in the second half of the first century AD by the Pliny, who was designated it as the Mare Indicarum, this Sea of the India. A new term was coined by the Muslim authors as Al-Bahar al-Hind, the sea or the ocean of India. This ocean, according to them, had several segments. One of these was Bahar al-Kand and Bahar al-Harlal, and figuring as early as the middle of the 9th century. The Harkan al-Sind wal-Hind are generally attributed to Suleiman. Many trading groups of various nations and the classes called on the trade guild were the main group involved in this task. They were all organized at the regional and the provincial levels to carry on the internal trade and systematically. There are empirical research and studies on these trading and classes, especially in South India and Sri Lanka, the Far East Asian countries, as many of the 314 epigraphies found so far and reveal many kind of information regarding there are different views, and they are being the studies at present from the 10th century onwards up to the 11th century. The above mentioned trading pattern prevail in the in the Indian Ocean, and how Muslim traders were involved in this context in the Sri Lankan trade should be examined. We note that some Muslim trade guilds were engaged as active middlemen. For example, Anjuvanam Trade Guild organized the coastal town function as a guild for themselves. Raja Mohamed says that the name of Anjuvanam found in some copper plates and description of the 12th and 13th centuries AD. Along with the names of this merchant guild may be considered as a merchant guild of the Muslim. Further, he says that Anjuvanam is a Persian word and meaning as assembly or congregations. And other mosque of the Thesis and Tirunelveli district is called Anjuvanam and Pallivasal and mosque. Even to this day, the names Anjuvanam in the earliest Islamic work in the Palestinian Malay and 15th century composed during the 15th century makes it clear that it donates the Muslim merchant guild. Such merchant guild functioned in the Kottayam, and that is two names, Nagapattan and Sri Lanka. The period between 11th and 12th centuries AD, which was a unique period in the Indian Ocean, which more than ever before in the Asian region, especially around the Bay of Bengal. The countries in the Asian region are running away from each other to achieve their development goals. The Indian Ocean had become a very busy sea. Surrounding regional countries had achieved the great progress, socio-political, cultural, and economic. The sea route of the Silk Route was very active at the contemporary ports were connected with each other and successfully carried out their commercial activities. In these commercial activities, Malacca Strait, Sunda Strait, and the Sunda and Gokhan and Trincomalee port in Sri Lanka, and Canton in China, Nagapattan in India, and Visakhapatnam in Persia, and Visakhapatnam in the Persian Gulf region, Syria ports and Trichy port, etc. They played a big role, and even the trade guild also played a big role in these commercial activities. In fact, when we look at the development of contemporary Asian cities such as Madurai and Sri Lanka, Polonnaruwa, and Borobudur, Pagan, Chinese Canton, West Asia, Cairo in West Asia, it is clearly seen that the surplus wealth obtained during the maritime commerce has been successfully invested. It has been revealed by many empirical studies on the commercial activities and urbanization in this area. The trade in the contemporary Indian Ocean has been so successful that some scholars have been interested in using it as the Indian Ocean world. Jajima Hakusi clearly mentioned that Indian Ocean world. In some cases, when they started these commercial activities, this was some rivalry, but in the end, due to the need of the commercial activity, they connected with each other and became the friends. For example, and the Chola during the Chola's period subjugate some Sri Vijaya, this part of the Sri Vijaya, and finally, and they became the friends. And I strongly believe that this change that happened in the Indian Ocean 800 years ago should happen again, especially since we know the influence, we know the finances of the resources in the Indian Ocean better than any other sea. So all the powers in this Asian region must understand and deal with this situation. If so, I strongly believe that we can move forward as an Asian region by sharing the resources of the Indian Ocean properly. So that is my last argument. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Check. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. The Department of History feels very proud and privileged sharing the session with you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, with this, we'll start the question and answer sessions. Participants with any queries can clarify with this now. Participants can clarify their queries. Is there any queries?
Sir, good afternoon. Am I audible? Am I audible, sir? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, you're audible, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. It's your lecture is so nice to listen. Thank you so much. But I have a doubt on some of the people, the Vanakan said that they are very useful to trade with India and Sri Lanka, particularly in Tamil Nadu to Sri Lanka. Do you have any idea on that particular people, sir?
We kindly request
Sorry,
you.
sir, I can't hear your voice.
So kindly unmute your audio.
That you mean that the Tamil people or
Yes, sir, Vanakan. Here, Airavata Makadevan said that Vanakan people are some Smith, like a Smith. But in Sri Lanka, when I came to Sri Lanka in 2019, there I met in a temple. So many Vanakan people are there belong to trade. Due to trade only, they transfer into Tamil Nadu to the Sri Lanka. So I want to get some idea on that people, sir, Vanakan. Whether they are belong to the trading community, sir?
yes, yes, definitely they belong to the trading community. Actually, some people believe they came from the near the Kerala.
Oh,
Yes,
oh,
yes. I also believe that because actually now all the Muslim people also even traders also they use
oh,
Tamil language. That they don't use
oh,
Arabic language. Actually, they after actually they first they came to the Kerala. That
oh,
earlier it was in under the Tamil Nadu no, whole city, and they came to that place. Then only especially in
oh.
Marakkal people. Marakkal, they actually Marakkal
Marakayar,
meaning
Marakayar.
yes, Marakkale. That meaning
Oh,
also is the boat drivers. That boat
yes,
drivers,
sir.
I think, yes, that is so. These people came from there because of the trade they established. Even the
Oh,
Arabic language also disappeared because of this trade connection. Now they who embrace the Islam, but they use the Tamil language. Finally, they familiar the Tamil language. It was the actually now even now also, even today also, now the Tamil is the trading language. Even when you go back to the 12th century AD and the kings Varakar during the Polonnaru period, there is an inscription written in the Tamil. They address the Tamil merchants. The Sinhala king established that inscription, but address the Tamil merchants.
Oh, here in Tamil Nadu, sir, the 4th century AD inscriptions, it is usually we said like a music inscription here, but in this inscription we have that form. Eluttum Punaruthan, Malai Vannakkan, Devan Chatan, Vannakkan.
Yeah.
So from that period, we are having connection with the Sri Lanka.
Yes,
In
definitely.
Tirupparangunram also we have
Yes, that is my argument also, that before the North
Yes,
India,
sir.
actually they started the connection with the South India. We had from
Yes,
the
sir.
previous
Particularly in Tamil Nadu, sir.
Yes, particularly Tamil Nadu, that most of the scholars, they have forgotten that connections. Actually,
Yes, sir.
yes,
In
I strongly
Tirupparangunram
believe
inscription,
we have
Ila
to,
Kudumbigan Polalalayan mentioned, sir. In the 1st century BC inscription itself,
yes.
the Ila Kudumbigan Polalalayan is made some donation to that monk, Jain
Yes,
monk.
yes, that clearly mentioned in that one. They came from the Tamil Nadu, and some people came from the Elam. Elam means Sri Lanka.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As you said in Chola inscription, the Ira Kasi also mentioned. Ira Kasi, Puttakam, Akkam also mentioned. They are using it for transaction purpose.
Yes.
So, do you have any idea on what they are used for coins for exchange? Do you know, sir? Do you have any idea, sir?
Yes, but actually, regarding the trade relationship and Sri Lanka and India, actually, there are many evidence than the numismatic evidence, I think, because actually we don't have much numismatic evidence, because actually they use the coins for another purpose. Yes, that actually barter system is very popular in that period. Because of that, they did not use.
Here we have the terminologies as Akkam and Irakasu. Like in Tamil Nadu, we are having that mentions for exchange.
We have been many places and found the Tamil coins, and they belong to this the Tamil Nadu. Lot of coins. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Any further queries? Any further queries? Can we wind up question and answer sessions? Okay, thank you. So the Department of History feels very proud and enlightened sharing a session with such an eminent professor and a great intellect. We feel a very profound thanks for your presence. So very, very, very hearty thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohamed. And actually, you previously you deal with me and through the SMS and WhatsApp messages, and so thank you very much given this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for your presence.
Right.
Now we'll have a profound vote of thanks session. Good afternoon, everyone. At this accomplishment, I would extend hearty thanks. First and foremost, I thank our Honorable Secretary and Correspondent, sir. I thank our respected Principal, sir, in absentia. I thank our respected Vice Principal, sir, who gave a presidential address this morning. Thank you, sir. I express a profound thanks to special guest, Reverend Aragesam, sir, Principal of St. Joseph College, who gave an intellectual address. Thank you, sir. I thank our beloved HOD, sir, head of the department history, and for all success of even to you, sir. Last and not the least, I thank guest of today's technical session, Mr. Deepak Rai, correspondent, Times of India. Thank you, sir. Dr. K. Mavali, Associate Professor, Department of History, Vishwa Bharati University, West Bengal. Professor Dr. K. M. Rohita Dasanayaka, Head of the Department of History, University of Peradeniya, Sri Lanka. Thank you, sir. I also express a warm thanks to learned faculty, research scholars from various institutions, and dear participants. Once again, on behalf of PG and Research Department of History, I express an hearty thanks to one and all gathered here. Thank you. With this, we would like to wind up today's session. For tomorrow, we have a valedictory session and followed by 2 technical sessions. Thank you. I will fill the session links, please. It will be considered as the attendance for the session.